Hello, welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and slaughterbound to that 6+++ show. I'm your host Tom, and I am back once again with the lovely nerds of 6++ to talk all things Warhammer 40k with you. And it's chaotic today in more ways than one, because we have some new Chaos books, and also we're going in pretty loose on the preparation to talk through them.
Away.
It's hot outside. Prepping content is not as fun when it's hot outside. There's just other things to do with your time. Hopefully, you in the chat are all having a great time. I'm going to introduce my cast of players. We're going to do some self-promotion. I'm going to shout you out. Then we're going to talk Death Guard. We're going to talk World Eaters, because 2 new books on our horizon. With Emperor's Children already on the wind, it's a very chaotic time going into the summer. All sorts of Chaos Forces out and about, which I think means for some interesting things. We'll talk about the books, what we like, what we think is interesting about them, maybe some puzzling and some counterplays, who knows, and then we'll do some podcast questions at the end. So, cast of players, first and foremost, I'm going to start in the bottom left with my dear leader, Chris. Chris, how goes it?
It goes well. How are you,
Good.
good sir? After,
I'm pretty good.
Some very exciting news.
Yes, no, that's a good point. Yes, so England squad was announced last week, and I have made that playing 8 for WTC in Austria in August, which is fucking exciting. Yeah, no, it's really cool. I'm good. I'm excited. It's going to be really fun. Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you, guys. That's obviously been a lot. It's been a lot of work. It's been really interesting seeing the level of work that goes into playing to that kind of standard, and it's been awesome. I obviously wasn't expecting to make it to that point, so I'm very, very chuffed to have done so. And it's a lovely squad of people. I think they've picked a really cool team of people who I'm really excited to work with as well. So I think that should be really fun. Other than the scene trying to play every army that comes out, I think it's going to be just fine. So yeah, really, really cool. What is new in your hobby life, Chris?
I played some Warhammer, Tom.
Fuck me, did you? Okay.
Twice.
Demonetized.
You did it twice?
2 games, baby. Well, we've got this thing called ICT coming up, and I thought, well, as soon as I'm taking I should probably play with it. So
yeah,
I played
you
2 games of in which both times my opponents, as we've kind of spoken it through, have gone, I'm not shooting you at all. So what I'm doing is getting really good reps at how to play my army without ever getting to use my rules. And it's really interesting, actually, because it creates... Because if your opponent does that, which is obviously absolutely the right thing to do, it makes their play experience miserable, because they're having to try and play in a completely different way. And it's making my play experience miserable, because I'm not getting to things that I want to do. I'm just having to throw things on objectives. So no one's winning. So if we could just nerf, just a little bit, just so I can have some rules to play with. But hopefully at the weekend, I don't keep playing into really good players, and hopefully someone lets me lethal intent something, because
I'm sure they will.
Not got to do that yet.
It's worth having a counter. Maybe you and the other players in our squad should compete and see who can lethal intent the most times over the weekend.
Actually, Rob, bring it, bitch, if you're listening.
I think Adam Gawley at Home Nations lethal intented 4 times in 5 games. He didn't lethal intent at any point in his practice. So in real life, it happens more. I think
it will happen more. But no, it's been fun just getting to play and talk through things. And I've learned a lot in my 2 games. Like, don't get tagged. Like, if you get tagged, you are fucked. So that's just me being lazy on TTS. But it's helped to clear some things up in my head. Sat down with Harley and spoke through it, and it's just been good fun. Actually, the prep for this event for Alpharis, anyway, I can say, has been really, really good.
That's awesome.
We put a lot of effort in terms of team comp and list building and that sort of thing. So
that's really good.
Really excited to see how Alpharis do this weekend.
Yeah, it's a strong team. I will be a bit sad not playing on it. I haven't not played it in a long time, so it'd be cool. You say it's a very, very strong squad of players that you're taking, so I think it's going to be really awesome. And as you say, team comp does look very, very good, very well designed for the situation. So yeah, that should be a lot of fun. I'm also joined tonight by my sensei, Mr. Scrivens. He's going to be at ITT as well. John, how are you?
Yeah, really good. I have played no games of 40k since last week.
That's fine.
But I've done a lot of 40k adjacent stuff. I've been busy prepping for ITT, doing the pairings cards. I've done a video with Davey about World Eaters already. So
yes, you have.
Through those detachments, which all look very, very fun. But obviously, we're going to get to more later. And I don't actually have any prep for ITT to paint, which is probably the first time ever which is really weird for
That's
me.
wild. Yeah, normally you're like hobbying up some like 5 obscure infantry for someone else.
Yeah, and that feels really weird. But for Legion, we've all just gone, yeah, we're taking what we want, and just going to see what happens, really. And it feels a bit more relaxed, but also
100%.
I feel like as a result, we're probably just going to have 5 games where we know what we're going to get. And it should be
I mean, it
makes
makes predicting outcomes a lot easier, doesn't it? If you're playing something you know very well, and I think there's a lot to be said for that. And it's also a lot to be said for just relaxing and not turning it into a stress going in.
Yeah.
100%.
Although it will be used to monitor how people are doing for Team Wales. So if I do really well,
oh, will it?
knows?
Okay, right. Well, just win ITT, mate. Just go and take it out.
Biggie.
Do it.
It'll be the Reavers that do it.
It will be the Reavers, the secret Reaver tech. Yeah, absolutely. I am also joined tonight by Mr. Thursday Night Fight himself, the wonderful Jack Chapman. Jack, how are you?
I'm doing good, man.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I've been doing some ITT prep.
Yep.
Just smashing out those towel games. I was just losing game after game. I was like, you know what, this list ain't working. So I took it back to formula and decided I was just going to take pretty much the same list that I took to the last ITT. Nothing has changed. There's just a couple more melter guns in there.
That sounds about right.
So,
you tried. So,
yeah. I mean,
I don't know if you saw the tier list, Jack, but we all genuinely intervened on behalf of Tau, that's where we're at now. We were very much. It is time. I think Tau are having a time of it. But you at ITTs with Tau tend to be quite dangerous, don't you?
Oh yeah, because I do the pairings and aggressively pair for myself. But
better than you with Ironstorm, right? Where you're like, I haven't won a game yet.
Yeah.
Fine, right?
You know, for people because it was broken. Yeah, no, it's we put in a lot of prep for this one actually. In terms of like pairing strategy and the factions we're taking. So I feel really good about that, and I'm really hoping that because we do have that. You have that thing with ITT where you do kind of have to have the stars aligned to make sure you have the right factions available. Sometimes that just doesn't happen, you know. And we would have an incredible team if it wasn't me holding us back with the towel because I don't have anything else in my repertoire. It's really, really happy with how the team's coming together, and hopefully we can push forward and improve on normal 3-2 performance to the 4-1 territory. It's kind of my personal goal anyway. But
completely. Yeah,
other than that,
you've absolutely got the squad to do it. I think it's a very good team, and again, as you say, the comp is very good. And then ITTs, it just always comes down to a bit of luck, doesn't it? When you hit, who you hit. Yeah, awesome. And you've been painting a bit as well, because I've seen some nice models.
Yeah, I've been painting Guardsmen.
You poor sod.
I've actually done 2 units since the last Grade to Greatness video. So I just kind of went like ham last week. I've got my Sentinel here.
Oh,
yes, such a good chunky boy that you want.
He's so cool. And I've got some more stuff over there. I'm now kind of like, well, I've painted all the stuff that I've built, so I'm just going to wait a while, and I'm procrastinating a little bit. I did manage to pick up a good deal on a couple of little bits here and there, so yeah, I got some more stuff, but I have to wait till the next Grade to Greatness video to find out what's going on there.
Oh, spicy. Exciting. All right, we're going to read out the chat, then we will get into our self-promotion. Then it's going to be the main event. So hold on, bookmark people who want to know when it's the real show starts.
It starts now.
No, it doesn't. He lied. Don't listen. It's a false.
Fake fans. Hashtag fake fans.
Sam Dunn is driving, and I assume not typing at the same time, but wants to be entertained. We will endeavour to entertain you, Sam. Does Sam play any of these armies? He likes melee. I feel like World Eaters, maybe.
I think he might be succumbing to World Eaters as a temptation.
Right, okay. That's fair enough. John Black is in. Hello, John Black. Chris Cadd is in, saying, Emperor's Children, can you tell they did not get play tested? That's right, they've solved it. When we get to Death Guard, we'll talk about how they've just solved Emperor's Children with one data sheet just as a sort of emergency measure to kind of keep them some degree under wraps. Sharuni says for Chaos, baby, I completely agree. Gordon Chung is in as well. Hey, Company of Heroes. Which heroes of the company are we, says John, who is always somehow in the chat and talking to me at the same time. I don't know which ones will be me, John. Do you have any ideas for that?
Well, I think Chris is obviously the captain.
Yes.
And then just based on age, I'm probably the ancient.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
You've got the bullshit heavy bolter.
Oh, thanks.
Jack's probably something quite.
I feel like I do hit on
sword that actually will murder people, and it surprises people every time.
That's going to be the company champion. I like it.
Patient
that works.
hunter.
Yeah, that works. That works for me. I will happily be the heavy bolter guy. That's fine. That's all right.
The one that
take
died
it.
first.
Always the ablative wounds. That's me.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to assist. Alrighty then. So from a self-promotional standpoint, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for supporting 6 Plus. We've had an amazing year. Please do hit like and subscribe. Please do leave comments. That all helps drive the algorithm. If you want to sign up and be a YouTube member, support us financially, we'd love to have you. We've got over 100 now. Really enjoying the members community, all the stuff we're doing with that. If you're interested in coaching, Chapter Master does unlock coaching as well. We've got a whole coaching Discord, and indeed, the very first masterclass is being taught in that Discord on Thursday night. So if you'd like to come and learn list building 101, how to write a banging list and analyze other lists out there in the game, it is still possible to sign up. We've got to sign up in our Discord. You can come and get involved there as well. Chris, is there anything else on your mind?
2 things, baby.
Oh my goodness, have you got room?
No. My house is falling apart with wet ceiling and stuff. So
no, I know you've had a time. It's just a time.
So, first of all, we did a little video, didn't we?
We did.
And it happened only in one take. If you don't believe us, you'll be able to if you're a member, you'll be able to see the full version on Friday and see how we absolutely only took one take on what was a really simple thing, in which I gave really simple instructions. And how could it possibly go wrong, Scrivo?
Yes.
So that will be out on members only on Friday, just a little behind the scenes. But the video was, of course, a very subtle announcement that after so many requests and so many comments about how they'd love to come to our very own tournament, but it's just so far up North Barnsley. Who'd want to go there? Well, we're going to be hosting one down south on August the 23rd and August the 24th. And I can exclusively reveal it's going to be in Hemel Hempstead. So it's going to be... So if you're a podcast listener, you're getting all the juicy gossip now. It's going to be a 42-player event, WTC. But it's going to have all the same prizes, all the same vibes, all the good stuff that worked so well last time. It's just going to be slightly smaller. But yeah, very excited to be running that. So I'm going to put a post out this week on just the general information, and then tickets are going to be coming out either next week or the week after. We'll put them live. And yeah, very, very exciting.
Super exciting. Yeah, we discovered we had a taste for the old event running, didn't we? It was a lot of fun. It was nice to see all the people that we have supported us and all the people that we've met having a great time playing WTC terrain, and we're going to keep that coming.
Yeah, baby. And then the second thing is that on May the 1st begins our hashtag Make It Happen, in which we are going to be looking to hobby every single day. Every single day.
I'm so excited to find out how far into this I get.
How far can we get? Can we be more successful than we try and do fitness things? Who knows? But yeah, so I put a post about it on our Facebook, Discord, and YouTube page. And I will do another one tomorrow. But basically, there's a spreadsheet where you can just put a sentence about each thing you've done. We've already had like 10 or 11 people put their name down. It's not necessarily you only do it if you can hobby every day. It's just how much hobbying can you get done over the course of May? I'm setting myself the goal of hobbying every single day. So I'm going to be, when I go to ITT on Saturday night, I'm just going to take a pot of contrast, a brush, and a 1 or 2 models, and just at some point paint, their boots or something like that, just to say I painted. I'm just going to try, because I think sometimes we can get into a habit of just painting. It's only worth it if I can paint for an hour or something. And actually, I think if you try and just knock out 5-10 minutes on the days where you can't get everything, then we'll get a good stint in, and hopefully it helps in the long run. So,
and it's a bit like the fitness, isn't it? Where it's like action breeds action up to a point. Even the little steps, it's the little things to just get you through the funk, get you going again.
100%. And I'm going to be trying to get through my grade to great and stuff each day. That's why I've held it off a little bit. And there's going to be a hashtag. So on Instagram, you can put a hashtag. I'll be putting up the 6++ photos from each day up on Instagram and stuff. So yeah, Should be fun.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's going to be absolutely awesome. Very, very excited. John, I assume it might now be too late for people to get additional pairings cards for ITT, but I thought I'd give you the option in case you wanted to mention that.
It's way too late, unfortunately. Because I've got 20 cards left to do this week.
Oh, sick! Nice,
really
amazing.
cool.
No, that's fun.
But it's a lot.
But if you want it for the next ITT, and there's always another ITT, get in touch with John. He'll do you bespoke pairing cards in the future as well. Okay, brilliant. Pickleax has also made it in. John Black was asking if we got all the required visas. Is that to go to Hemel Hempstead? I might have missed it. I'm not sure where are we needing visas for, John.
Probably the Watford Gap. That's where you need.
Yeah, that would make sense. I thought of you, John. I stopped at Watford Gap Services on my way home on Monday, and that's where I've had many a McDonald's with John, and it was very nostalgic.
Is it still a building site?
It is. Yes, it is a complete trash fire at the moment. But that's okay. It's still a very welcome sight to a nerd making his way back south after an event. Ultimate Funk is also in. Hello, Ultimate Funk. Amazing. Tons of members in tonight. That's really cool. Lovely to have so many of you here. So, all right. Hit the big "It's the real thing" button, because it surely is the real thing. We only took 15 minutes. That's pretty good. 2 books on the horizon, World Eaters and Death Guard. Obviously, I'm sure those in the playing world have encountered Emperor's Children. We've not reacted to Emperor's Children firsthand on the show, but obviously, suffice to say, we've talked about it before. They are making a splash in their own way. I think both of these books are going to make a splash in their own way as well. You've got some very interesting new dimensions coming through the releases. They're certainly starting to push the envelope a bit with their rules writing. They're certainly pumping a few things up in terms of its power and its function as well. We fortunately, not through design of any kind, have 2 people who are more savvy on Death Guard, myself and Jack, and 2 people who are more savvy on World Eaters in John and Chris. We also have the Goonhammer website open. And between those things, we're going to muddle through.
Mainly the Goonhammer website.
Love to get people's thoughts in the chat. We will definitely answer questions as you go, so fire the questions in. We've got a bunch in the Discord as well for the end, so we'll field those as well. Obviously, if you super chat, we'll love you forever, because people have been doing that a lot lately, and it's really nice because it's building our yacht fund. So I think I'm going to start with World Eaters, because it's my power to decide. Oh, look at their faces. Look at their faces. So I think if we go for... Let's just go for a sort of general react and take on the nature of the book and the change versus what we've currently had. Obviously, World Eaters have been basically very consistent for a long time with that one list, right? But now the changes afoot. There's all sorts of things going on. What would you say at surface level, guys, are the key headlines as far as the new World Eaters book is concerned?
The blessings have changed and taken away a couple of the things that were very much lent on heavily.
Okay.
So
what are the key changes there?
Jack's got his hand up.
Oh, Jack's got his hand up.
It's important to keep in mind that a lot of those changes were baked into data sheets anyway, so you haven't actually lost them. You just get them.
This is the knee-jerk reaction I'm seeing. Is people going, "It's gone." But it's like it's not.
Thank you, Jack. That's a very reasonable and thought-out response.
That's fucking bullshit. They've ruined everything. Okay. Well, there was one way you played World Eaters, and what I wanted was my one World Eaters list to do that thing, but better. I wanted to take the same amount of 8 bound. Well, actually, probably more 8 bound. I still wanted to always be taking Angron. Didn't mind the odd few Berserkers and Spawn and all that, but I really, really wanted Advance to Charge everywhere. I wanted my 5-up Feel No Pain or whatever across the board, and I just want that. And there's no other way that you can play World Eaters. So by doing this, and by changing the rules and having all these different detachments, they've ruined the only way to play World Eaters. I'm not happy.
Which was a style you loved as well and had really
I played so many games with it. And it really sang to me. And I'm shocked that eBay isn't full of World Eater armies, because they've ruined everything.
Yeah. So what, if we just to unpack what did in theory go away, but as Jack has correctly spotted, did not go away. What has changed on the old blessings front?
So let me get the original ones up and I can compare them.
That is quite all right. As you do that, +2 movement has gone away and Advance and Charge have gone away. So those have disappeared from the blessings. So, but as Jack correctly says, all the units just are faster.
They just go faster now. Yeah. And Advance and Charge is a strat in the index detachment now. So
yes,
they've got obviously it's not army wide though, which is the fundamental issue. But no, obviously the real point that is really important to note is if you're a World Eaters player, I get it. We've been playing the same way for 2 years, 3 years, whatever we're in now. it's just a different army, guys. You've got so many different ways you can now build your army. It's got new strengths, it's got new weaknesses. It's just you can't make direct comparisons because there are certainly debuffs, there are certainly side grades. It's working out the new combinations and that sort of thing. Does it have that obvious inherent power that certain other books seem to? Maybe we'll be discussing one of them. I don't know. Perhaps not, because you don't just read through all the rules and be like, "That's good, that's good, that's good." But actually, there's a lot of fun stuff there. I think it's just going to take a little more digging in and diving around.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, some of the new blessings are pretty cool, right, John? I think.
Yeah. So the first one that was to replace the +2 movement is just double 1 gets you reroll charges, which I think you really missed that previously because advanced charge is great, but if you fluff up that charge, it doesn't matter how far you went if you didn't make that last bit.
Yeah, +2 movement reroll charges is very, very nice in itself. It's not quite the same absurd threat reach that you can get, although obviously, as alluded to, there are still places you can get it. It's just not army wide in the same way. Very good.
The Feel No Pain has been replaced by double 2, giving you a 6-inch consolidation and pile in. Again, free movement, which at the end of 9th edition was not a problem at all. I can see this being abused quite heavily, and it's going to be really frustrating.
Yeah. I think this is it's appreciating that this we've not seen this army wide in intent, and that's a phenomenally powerful thing to have in terms of coasting through things, tagging things. So I think that one gets my juices flowing quite a lot. Yeah. I just think there's a lot of application for it.
I think I played into Paul the other day and on his Space Wars, and suddenly I just eyeballed some things and lined up some units, and he was like, right, and I'm going to consolidate 6 inches, and suddenly his Wolfen are touching my big block of Dark Reapers. I'm like,
yeah,
right,
exactly.
And that thing is so powerful. But then on top of that, you take something like the fact you can take Berserkers in 20s. Yes, and a 20-man Berserker unit, like piling in and consolidating 6 inches, swinging around,
and maybe fighting it in more than just.
And then, you shot me! Blood Surge 8 inches for a strat.
Because that's another big headline, isn't it? The Blood Surge has been dialed right
D6
up.
+2 now, isn't it?
So that is. I feel like you can play the odds. You could play the odds with old Blood Surge and get away with it a lot of the time if you had to. There is no way you can get near shit on objectives with that and not be at risk of it happening. Right? That is so much more effective, I think.
So tasty.
Wasn't that grenade range is 8 inches?
Yeah.
So you won't be doing that.
Yeah.
20 Berserkers makes me sad because nothing in my army kills 20 Berserkers in one bullet. Not even
Khan.
Not even the 10-inch range unit that has sustain 2. That's a very awkward 2-inch space you have to sit, or 1-inch space you have to sit and not get charged. Very awkward.
I think it's. I'm very curious to see how many 20 bricks make it into this. Is that like a thing you have one of? Is that a thing you have a couple of? Who knows? I think it's. But it's such a radically different way of using that unit, I think, in comparison. So
I think they're kind of like Orc Boys. I think one unit makes sense.
That's it. It's a sort of jam piece, exactly, which is going to have a big moment in the game at some stage and cause absolute mayhem. I can definitely see that. As far as the units goes, we've alluded to Khorne Berserkers. They've obviously had some changes. What would you say, guys, are the sort of headline changes for the units?
Master of Executioners is kind of dialed down horrendously. Like a lot of people, almost every list had to have one. Now
he was very popular for a long time, right? Yep.
It just doesn't feel quite as take every time as it was.
He's lost Fights First. Is that the killer thing there?
Yes. Fights First is on
that is a big
detachment rather than it being a datasheet thing now. So you can get it, but you've got to go and find it. So
yeah.
I'd like to shout out the Goonhammer writer that wrote about Angron here.
Yeah.
Okay. So the good news is that you no longer need to bring Angron in every World Eaters list. The bad news is that's because he sucks.
I'm
sad because my Angron's probably actually one of my nicest.
It's a glorious centerpiece, isn't it?
But it's you want. I don't know. I quite like the idea that if I can, it's a hard balance to strike, isn't it? It's quite a good Primarch.
Yeah,
I could take it, but.
I don't actually think there's very much wrong with Angron, right? I think he's actually like basically fine because he hasn't changed that much. His issue is that he takes away your army rule if you use his ability.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even when he does that, he comes back with less wounds.
Yeah.
But he's still like a solid piece in general.
Yeah.
It's just so expensive.
And
It's
you
just
can't rapid ingress him now as well.
when you like compare him to what he used to be, he seems worse. But if you look at him in a vacuum, he's still pretty solid.
Yeah. I think that makes complete sense.
It's hard to see the side grade though, right? Like that's the that's the thing.
Yeah.
He is worse,
wounds,
but he was auto before, which was bad.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a hard
the wounds on his return doesn't feel as dreadful, just because certainly in the games I played, when he came back, he was often just hitting somewhere where there wasn't anything left to engage him really anyway. By that point, I guess maybe if you're bringing back very early in the game, but I didn't see that happen a ton once he'd been adjusted. But yeah, so Angron takes a hit, and maybe Primarchs in general are just not in vogue because Fulgrim not making any waves. Angron not making any waves. We'll get onto one in a moment.
More team shit, but that's fine.
Maybe he's all right, but again, he's very expensive in a very powerful book. So it's going to be interesting to see if he does cut mustard, and then who knows what awaits poor old Magnus in future times as well. So so that's interesting. I mean, are there any? Would you say are there any other losers that we might name?
8
Lord
pounds.
Okay, 8 pound and Lord Invocatus. So that's most of the lists that we have been discussing.
Everything that was
for the last year. Yeah. So what are the headlines with the 8 pound?
Well, Goonhammer says they now only have a single weapon option in melee.
Yeah.
The Chainblade.
Yes.
It's essentially Power Fist with 5 attacks. So they've lost the Lacerator, they've lost the 3 damage. But yeah, it just doesn't quite pack the same punch.
They're more specialized now, right? Your Exalted 8-bound are your anti-vehicle unit, and your regular 8-bound are your anti-infantry unit. You know, they have their roles kind of more clearly defined.
Which because that was the thing with them, right? They killed everything. They just killed everything.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they're also expensive.
The damage that they do is absolutely ludicrous. Like, I know that they're like things have changed, but 3 Exalted 8-bound with the 8-bound character, the new one,
I was going to say
kills basically anything in the game. So what does it matter? Like,
and
I like the Slaughterbound. I think the Slaughterbound looks like a lot of fun, and he's a good caddy for some of the enhancements across the detachments. As you say, it just means you hide a little bit more punch in a smaller footprint. I feel like they're kind of jonesing for like 3-mans with the character, as you say, Jack, potentially as a more of a staple. And I suspect you'll see at least one of those in this because there is a lot of different ways you can build that across detachments.
And people own them, so they're going to be used. Exactly. They're going to be tried.
And who wouldn't want a guy with a giant arm just like stuck up like that?
You've got to remember on these units as well, because of the change to the blessings, you don't have to take the feel no pain or the positive movement or the advance and charge anymore. So
you take violence instead.
Yeah, exactly. You're never
dev wounds.
You're probably never going to take reroll charges unless you just have an absolutely garbage roll. That's the I have nothing else to take one, right? But you end up with lethal hit or sustained hit or both on all of these units, right? Which is really good. I did want to mention this before, but I forgot to say when we were talking about it. The changes to the Blood Tithe, I think, are really cool because for sort of less competitive players, you can just take sustains and lethal hits, provided you get the rolls that you need,
and just be good.
And that's just really good damage increases. Same for the wounds against infantry. But for good players, competitive players, you can have 6-inch consolidate, which is like crazy. And there is like a really good dynamic there where the competitive players will have to look and see, you know, am I going to take damage this turn or am I going to take the consolidate this turn? So I like that sort of dynamic. There is a bit of skill expression there.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is really nice. And there's a ton of damage. Also, wanted to shout out one of the best units in the Codex, Spawn.
Yes.
Oh my god, Spawn is so good. Yeah.
Spawn is so good. I think the current points given for them are like 80, but they're probably going to go up a little bit. But they've got like D6 plus 4 attacks, I think it is.
Yeah.
And
Scout 8, advance and charge.
Scout
Yeah,
8,
advance
advance
and
and
5
charge.
up thermo pain.
Yeah,
How fast do they move?
10.
10.
Yeah, team move 10.
That is just up your ass immediately, isn't it? Pretty much, if you want it to be. That's amazing. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, they're such a good unit. So, you can probably take a couple of units of them. They're a fucking nightmare for people to deal with.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah, very much so.
Good to see the Demon Prince is back in vogue as well.
Yes, and it's the foot one looked to be the most exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, he moves 10, low not when he's within 3.
This is a huge change for them. Huge change.
Death Wounds on the charge. He's got 8 strikes and 16 sweeps.
And some really nice enhancement potential. Yeah, exactly.
If you give him a glaive and he's 9 attacks at damage 4. On the charge, he'd be 10 attacks, strength 10, AP 2, 4 damage. Quite often you've got sustained lethal hits up, Death Wounds on the charge.
Yeah. That's bonkers.
That's pretty jokes.
That is very, very good. And he's got the CP strat handout, right?
Strat, yeah. So he can make his own stuff better.
I think quite a few of these detachments will really benefit from having him lurking, just handing out CP at the early game, then getting involved. I think he's a fantastic piece. They've obviously just made Demon Princes very relevant for Emperor's Children. Those models are so cool. So I feel like that's a really good place. You want to move towards the point where there's one in the Chaos Army is a good chunk of the time, and it makes sense to consider it. The winged one for EC, maybe there's a few too many of those flying around at the moment, but I think this is definitely really, really nice in that sense. So there's some very strong unit change in that sense. I think Khan stepped out to me when I was looking at it as well. I think Khan had gone up quite a level.
He's all right. I think he doesn't fight on death anymore.
No.
Back up on a 2-up, right?
He gets back up on a 2-up, which is obviously very nice on a little murder missile. Yeah. And he himself is very dangerous, and I think amps up his unit pretty nicely as well.
Yeah, so it's reroll hits and wound rolls of 1 for his unit. So if you got him on that 20 brick of Khorne Berserkers,
that's lovely.
Blending.
Yeah. Very good. And obviously he himself loves those things, so I think Khan looked really cool.
I'd like to give a shout out for the Khorne Order Skulls.
Yes, okay. I have not looked at that. Yeah, is that really good? Okay.
So it's now got 12-inch movement, which is good. And you get the ability to move through stuff that's less than 4 inches in height.
That's really good.
Which is nice. It can no longer be moved blocked by a rhino or whatever. And you get the Knight ability where you can go through walls and battle shock yourself on 1.
Elegant.
Yeah, and if it's on the board, you get an extra D6 for your blood type rolls, which is awesome.
That's very good.
But on top of that, he's got more attacks. He's got 6 on his strike and 18 on his sweep. And all of the guns got rapid fire, as did many of the guns did on many of the vehicles.
Indeed, yes.
So, yeah, there's a bunch of good weapons in there that are just range weapons in there for him. That's super awesome. And in one of the detachments, the kind of cultist one, it becomes like a real build-around piece, which I think is...
The auras grow because he's Titanic.
Yeah, it's super awesome, the way that they have designed that particular detachment to work around... Stuff I can't remember what the one's called. Cult of Blood, there we go. The Cult of Blood detachment, I think, is a really nicely designed, at least conceptually, detachment, the way that one works. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
Can I... Whilst we're talking about good things, I think what's really nice is that they've tried to upgrade the shooting aspect of things. Obviously, you've got things, like a Land Raider is now like 8 shots or something.
My las cannons, I love it.
8 las cannons hit them. Obviously, they've made now they hit on 4s, but they get a lot more shots. The Forge Fiend has got 4 rerolls against the closest thing.
With D3 blast rapid fire,
it's a lot of shots. So many great vehicle options. I mean, even the humble Rhino. The Rhino. If you're I think about it, I know as a Harlequins player, quite often I'll be like, I know a Star Weaver on an objective, and then someone goes, okay, well that's fine. I can't kill the Star Weaver and kill the stuff inside, but I don't want to because the stuff will come outside and hold the objective. Well, I will just stick some idiots on the objective and you don't hold it. Whereas now with the Chaos Rhino for Worldies, as if they move within 9, you can disembark from your Rhino.
So thematic.
And just get ready. And either you can then just get out onto the objective and be like, "How you don't actually steal it, sucker," or you can be like, "Shoot me, bitch, and I'm going to blood surge into you." Surprise! Very cool, very cool.
I think there's a real puzzle with that, and I think it's going to be one of those things that all of these little pieces in isolation. This is why it's hard. I feel it's harder to gauge the strength at the moment with World Eaters because there's just so many things that you're like. I feel like when these all combine, it's actually going to feel quite insufferable for quite a lot of armies. I think there's going to be real scope for feeling very hemmed in and suddenly tagged and trapped and diddled, and that's your game. And especially with things like the scouting spawn and other stuff on top. So it doesn't feel quite as all in. They've obviously got the infiltrating unit now, so actually Scout is very real for them and very relevant in a way it just hasn't been for most of the edition. That was already, I think, seeing them uptick a little bit on win rate and results just before this is due to come out. So that feels exciting, and I think it feels like, I can just see reading across those, it just feels like you're going to want a wider range of tools in lists than we've been seeing for a long time, right? Lists are going to look like a bunch of different things. And there's going to be a good reason for taking it. So, Jack, you go.
I think that's the big takeaway, I think, from this book is that the build diversity and the internal balance is a lot better in this book than it was in the previous index, which is annoying for me as a not World Eaters player because now I have to think about right now, when I'm playing ITT prep, I look at World Eaters and I'm like, I know what that list is and I don't have to read it. Hooray! And then I know what it does. I know what they're taking. But I'm going to have to change that up.
That is completely right.
Unless it's Josie taking 1 million cultists. But other than that,
which she's definitely more now. She is definitely still trying to do. Now I don't know how successful she's been, but that is definitely she has not given up on doing it.
There's a whole detachment designed for it. So.
Yeah. So let's talk about detachments. That's a great segue there, Capitan. So if we were going to talk about detachments, what's jumping out? Anything exciting catching your attention? What sort of options have we got to play with?
Blood.
Okay, blood. Jack, you are passionate about Cult of Blood. We're going to let you go whilst the other boys read Goonhammer and just get up to speed on the others. So hit us with Cult of Blood, Jack. What's that about?
I don't know what it is about being the losers of chaos. Like
there's 3 idols you pick, and basically get those auras from your monsters or Titanic in a 6 or 9 inch if it's Titanic.
Okay.
I don't know what it is about the losers of chaos having fun, interesting detachments I really enjoy. It just really tickles me inside, and I really like it. So basically, start your command phase. You pick one of 3. It's basically a doctrine from Gladius. And then all of your Titanic and monster units exude this aura that you have picked for the turn. So one is gives your Jackal and Goremonger units +1 to hit and +1 to wound.
Lovely. Yep.
One gives those same units +1 to their move and +1 to advance and charge rolls, and another one gives those same units a 4+ invulnerable save.
Ooh, okay. That's a lot of annoying things on lots of cheap bodies.
Yeah, especially when you take in like 20-man units of Jackals.
Times 6 because they're battle line in this detachment.
Oh, nice. Yeah, very good.
So there's some fun auras. For some enhancements, you get +3 inch to your aura, which is one of those nice enhancements that just plays around your detachment rule.
Yep.
You can add a character to a unit of Jackals or Goremongers.
Oh, fun. Okay.
So there's kind of a couple of interesting combos you can do there.
Yep.
Monster gets +1 toughness and feel no pain 5+, which is nice. You probably end up taking that one if you're running this attachment. And then as a redeploy 3 units of cultists.
Yeah,
cultist units basically. So that's again, I always take redeploy if it's available to me because it's just really solid. Stratagem wise, again, we're mostly focused on the Jackals and the Goremongers here. Yeah. So we got 1 CP when a unit is destroyed. You get to when any of your monster Titanic units are destroyed, you get to reroll hits against the unit that destroyed said unit.
Oh, that's fun. Again, with when you've got your lethal and sustained in the mix, suddenly turning on 4 rerolls is very tasty.
I've got a couple of detachments that use similar stratagems. They're always solid. We like it. We got 2 CP. You can, when a unit of Jackals is destroyed, you get it back in reserves.
Good.
Basically reinforcements.
Good.
One thing I will say while I'm here, 2 CP. There's a lot of 2 CP stratagems in this book.
That's interesting.
Generally not a fan of 2 CP stratagems being this prolific. That being said, it's pretty easy to get -1 CP on
stuff. I guess the Demon Prince feels like he's going to be everywhere, right? So it's like it will level out. But in general, they had been phasing that out a bit. So as you say, that's interesting that they've brought that back.
We've got 1 CP, 6+ Feel No Pain or 5+ if you're within range of one of your idols. So that's pretty cool, especially if you stack that with the 4+ involved.
A bit more of that tar pit energy from back in the day. Yeah, okay, that's nasty.
1 CP, you can fight if you're within 3 inches of the enemy rather than within 1 inch of the enemy.
Sweet.
Important to note that doesn't increase engagement range by 3 inches. It increases what you can fight from by 3 inches. It doesn't make your charges 2 inches shorter.
Right, okay.
Which is what I saw a couple people saying, but it's not the case. 1 CP, reroll all hit rolls, reroll hit rolls of 1 or full hit rolls if you're within range of an idol. So
this is actually sounding quite scary. The more that you add these layers on, Jack, if I'm honest,
because you will have sustained and lethal on all these.
Yeah, you will. Yeah.
It's
death by 1,000 cuts.
And then lastly, 2 CP. You in your command phase, you pick an idol. Idol of Corn ability to be active for a unit. So it's basically like in Gladius when you pick an extra doctrine and you can have it active. So you can have an extra doctrine active for one of your idols.
Well, it aims you to reuse one you've already used, right? So
you've already used it.
Yeah.
Double. So you basically go enhancement of 9-inch aura on one of your guys. You stick him in the middle of the board, and then you go turn 2, 4-up Invan, and then turn 3 you can 4-up Invan off that one guy, and then project a 9-inch aura of 4-up Invan again. So you can double 4-up Invan your army, which is obviously quite good.
And that one is once per game, so it is, but it's really powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like having loads of
idiots,
little dudes. I think that Death by 1,000 Cuts is always quite entertaining to me. Yeah, and I think they're the more interesting units, more flavorful units in the old in the book. And I think there's a lot of play around this. I like the way that it invites the Corn Lord of Skulls to be less of a joke piece and more of a serious contender. In combination with its data sheet changes. I like the way that it plays around the lesser, what would be the lesser played units of like Demon Princes, of there's another. I'm sure there's another monster. My brain is just firing.
It's not the Hellbrute because I thought it was, but it's not.
I can't remember what it is. I was sure there was another monster in there somewhere. Off the top of my head, I can't quite remember. But anyway, what's important is that it's just a very flavorful detachment.
Yeah,
that is
absolutely.
Definitely going to catch people out.
That's it. I can hear it. I can hear the power in it. And that's not even one of the ones that people have been like shouting out. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So much board control as well, because all of your Goremongers infiltrate as well.
Yeah.
So,
potentially a lot of pressure. Yeah. No, fantastic. Any of the others jumping out for you guys, Chris and Scrib?
So I think the one that will probably see a lot of people jumping on immediately just from the fact that they'll have the models is the Possessed Slaughter Band. Okay, interesting. It's the detachment of let's bring all the 8-band.
Okay, so that's a plug-in for your 8-band, huh? Okay.
Yeah, so basically all your possessed units, which is your 8-band, Exalted 8-band, and your Slaughter bound, gain essentially the Blood Surge.
Oh, okay. Ugh.
So they gain a D6, they get to move a D6. So it's not D6 plus 2 in this situation, because I guess that was probably a bit too good.
But even more shutdown from Blood Surge.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's enhancements. There is a Slaughterbound one where every time his unit makes one of those moves, it's flat 6. So you'd have like a big pack that just gets slung forward.
Oh, that is nice, yeah.
And then there is one that I don't think you'll see necessarily people bothering with unless they're really hungry for CP, but it's on a 4-up. After you've killed a unit, you gain a CP.
Sick.
So so but I don't see that one necessarily. There is one where Demon models get crits on 5s instead of 6s. When you've got, as you've already been saying about sustained and lethals, having a guy going absolute ham is going to be pretty good with that. Yeah. And then the last one is the Deadly Demise becomes on a 2-up instead of a 6, and is D3 plus 1 instead of D3. So funny, but I don't imagine more people will see. I don't think we'll see that one.
Sure.
The bit I think is more interesting is some of the strats. So there's one where you can make one of your units for 2 CP, -1 to wound. Okay. If you've got that big death brick, it's expensive.
Death brick with a Demon Prince nearby, so it's going for 1. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
There's one way you can...
Especially as you only need to survive one activation in theory in some of these circumstances.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The next one is fight phase. A possessed unit gets +1 damage. So those damage 2 weapons. Some
Lots of damage 3. Yeah, that's nice. That's 1 CP.
Which is a nice breakpoint. That's 1 CP.
Yeah, okay. That feels fun.
Then there's a 2 CP one, which is fight phase after the enemy unit is selected a target. You basically get to fight on death.
Okay, nice. Full or 4
for
up?
a whole, just full.
Wow, okay.
But it's 2 CP for full fight on death.
Yeah, but
that's
that's not nothing on an 8-bound Brit. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I can see that. Okay, cool stuff.
There's an 8-bound rapid manifestation, which is in your movement phase, you can deep strike. You can be outside of 3, so it'll be outside of 6. Yeah. You cannot charge.
Right, okay.
So it's cool, but I don't envisage people doing it unless it's to steal points, perhaps.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. If they've left you a gap for 3 guys that they can't deal with behind the lines, you might take it now and again, right? I think there were always people ingressing one squad of 8-bound, right? So I think having that as an option, if you leave me a gap, it's going somewhere even worse for you, I think is really nice. So yeah, no, that's really, really good.
Possessed unit for a CP can do Warp Stalkers, which is any time an enemy unit makes a normal fallback or charge, you can move within engagement range of such models. So you literally, am I misreading this? Your movement phase or charge? Yeah, you can move through. So basically, you can move through them.
Okay.
In response, and it doesn't do desperate escape tests and stuff. So it's really kind of a bit of free movement again.
Yeah.
And then the last one is that you can force each enemy unit within engagement range to take a battleshot test at -1.
That's also very fun.
In their command phase.
Again, that sounds. Again, I've not heard tons of excitement around this one. I think that again sounds like a great toolkit. I guess people just need to get their heads around the 8-bound changing and everything else. But there's loads of cool, dangerous stuff you can do with that. That just feels like a slammy, melee, nasty detachment in that sense.
It's funny enough. Playing just bring lots of indestructible charging stuff and hopefully hit people hard enough that they don't survive it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Chris, any other shout outs?
Let me tell you a story. You're there, you've charged in, you've punched up some nasty world eaters, you've killed that unit. Suddenly, boom, 10 bloodletters appear where the unit were that you just killed. Not in engagement range, but 1.1 inches away. They take back that objective. Next battle round, your opponent's got Forge Fiends. World Eaters don't have Forge Fiends. That's crazy. This Forge Fiend blows a hole in your enemy lines, right in the back. Managed to get some line of sight. Boom. Destroyed a unit. Pop. Bloodletter unit. Right where that unit was that just died.
Amazing.
Next battle round. Blood Crushers charge in. Do a load of mortals. Boom. Kill that unit. Pop! Bloodletters appear from that spot. This is all from one stratagem, guys.
Hello there.
What a stratagem. So the demon detachment, you start reading it and you're like, this is pretty shit. Like the blood tithes, you have to kill a unit, and on a 3-up you get a blood tithe point. Like blood tithes themselves aren't amazing. And, you know, there are workarounds for that, but there's basically one stratagem that once a battle round, when any unit dies, yours or theirs, where the last model is pulled from, you can bring down a unit of bloodletters from deep strike in that or within 9 inches of that space.
Only within 9.
There's no other rules apart from it can't be in engagement range. Like that stratagem in any other army, or most other armies, broken as fuck. Right? The fact is, it's bloodletters. Okay, so it's not as exciting, but 10 bloodletters. What a stratagem! What a stratagem!
I know.
So for that reason only.
Go on then. Why does he like it, Jack?
Because it's the Incarn.
That's exactly what it is, Jack. It's the Incarn. That is exactly why he likes it. It's better than the Incarn.
It's so cool.
The Incarn does it once and dies. These bloodletters, because you have 6 units of them, or however many you're allowed, you do it as many times as you're allowed and they die. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
It's a very cool. And actually, they've got some more decent stats. They've got some good output.
Oh, sorry, you can have 6. It's 6.
Oh, sick. Okay.
They are battle line.
I mean, it's OC2 as well, right? It's
Exactly
OC...
that. So obviously, at most base value, it's just taking back objectives that you've been charged off of, or stealing objectives,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. Like that's the most, and it's pretty much impossible to play around because there's just so many things. It's almost going to be one of those things where your opponent just has to suck it. But also, you've got a pick up stratagem. Okay.
Oh, nice.
So because you've got an uppy downy stratagem, that means that you can just keep recycling the blood.
Yeah, you don't even need lots of
and
units.
doing it on turn 4 and 5 as well. So I think that's really cool. I don't own any. I don't own any.
It sounds like Chris would like some bloodletters. So if someone wants to buy Chris,
I'll run it. I might try on TTS or something.
I think that sounds like a fight night game waiting to happen.
You can get the Bloodthirster to have a 2-up save.
I thought that's quite good. I think a Bloodthirster with a 2-up is actually quite terrifying in its own way.
Yeah, and you can uppy downy as well.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Sorry to burst your bubble, Chris, but they are OC1, not OC2.
Well, yeah, still OC10 though, right? You can whack on.
Yeah, it's still extremely annoying for the opponent to play.
And Blood Crushers are also really good.
They're OC2.
And there's one else.
That's a general rule. Whacking down 10 OC 1 inch away from the opponent is generally quite
That's
good.
just always a very good thing to do.
Yeah, I've never frowned upon it. There's something that goes...
As a Space Marine player, I never have 10 OC. I have
no, you don't.
There's an enhancement that can go on something which can join Blood Crushers, which gives them like all the access to the table for corn or something. I can't remember exactly, but basically you can make Blood Crushers like horrendous, absolutely horrendous.
And they can now be led by the characters. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The Lord on Juggernaut basically gets
Lord on Juggernaut. We didn't mention him, but he's also looking very good, right? I think that unit looks a lot of fun.
It's Blood Crushers or Flesh Hounds.
Yeah. So there's one that gives you all units within 6 get Blessings of Corn abilities.
Yeah.
And then there's one that lets you join the Juggernauts to Blood Crushers or Flesh Hounds.
Yes.
It basically becomes a demon. So
gains Deep Strike as well.
That's pretty sexy. Yeah. I mean, that one just sounds like you will have a great time playing it as well.
Is it good? Who knows?
Who knows? Hard to tell.
I want to try it. That's the thing. It's got me excited to at least try.
Yeah. And there's units that I think we can see plugging into all of them in certain ways. So again, it's that diversity as we're talking about. I think you'll build around specialized units for some of them, but also actually there's just going to be some plug-in units that just work really well and that will complement all those. So that's very exciting. And we've not even talked about the two that people are primarily saying are good yet, and we're already delighted. So how exciting is that? So the detachment one's still, the index one's still there, isn't it? Pretty much.
Yeah, the Berserkers.
Maybe
still solid. Still very punchy. Still gives you a few of the old tricks. +1 to wound, is that still there? I think in that one, or is that just the strength? The strength boost effectively achieving a similar thing.
I think that one's changed to something.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
You got 1 CP when you die. You can sticky an objective.
Yeah. That's still super good. Yeah.
1 CP. If you charge, you get +1 AP.
Yep.
You got 2 CP -1 damage in close combat.
Yep.
You've got 1
which
CP.
actually gets better with demon princes running around handing that out for cheap now as well.
We've got 1 CP. You just make a Blessings of Cornwall, activate 1 blessing.
Yeah.
But you can't use it to resurrect Angron.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
1 CP advance and charge, and 1 CP automatically move 8 on your
Blood Surge on the Berserkers.
For Berserkers, yeah.
Absolutely glorious. Yeah, I mean that's just going to be good. It's not as exciting because it's a lot more of the same, but it is just going to be good. -1 damage on 20 bricks of Berserkers. I'm just imagining some Banshees going into that and just being desperately sad and then all immediately dying.
You do also have a -1 damage enhancement. So you put that on a Demon Prince and then use that stratagem as well.
Yeah, that's
quite good.
As well,
that's nice.
No,
that is nice. So that one will still be very solid as well. And then I know there was one that John was also very excited about.
Yeah, the Gore Track Onslaught. which is Drakari, but in power armor.
Yes,
So-
let's go. There's not
So-
been enough of that this edition. Let's have more of that. Let's have
Each time you disembark, +1 to your charge rolls and lance on the unit that's disembarked, which is pretty
Delicious.
cool. So you
Delicious,
take a load
yeah.
of rhinos. Then there's some enhancements. One that means you can't be overwatched, so they've got banshee masks,
Yep.
which is nice. There's one that
But those won't.
if the model is in a transport, the dedicated transport gains Scouts 9. So you get them up in that stage
Oh,
in ruin ready.
Jesus. Yeah, so that is an incredibly quick unit coming out of there. So Scout 9, the disembark is 3, 12. They move 8. They get +1 to charge from this.
Yep.
That and
Maths.
some spawn are right up you right away. Okay, there's no mucking about. That's very scary. Also, just in general on UKTC, it just means you can get a rhino somewhere without it being immediately shot, which is also just,
Yeah,
quite,
so
it's
important,
just
yeah.
quite nice to be able to do it when you can. Yeah, that's awesome.
And then there's one that in the start of a shooting phase, one vehicle or transport if it's embarked. One enemy unit that's hit by the attacks of that unit is -1 to hit. So you can make something suppressed.
Skip.
Oh, sure. Skip that one. We
Skip.
don't need. Yeah.
And then the last
make it dead instead.
what everyone's been waiting for. Once per battle, he can give fights first to himself.
Oh, that's cool. I mean,
What
we've
a
seen
model.
with Blood Angels how annoying that can be. That's just
Yeah.
a
That'll be
situationally
fun, right?
brutal thing. Yeah.
The beauty of once per game fights first is actually you have fights first all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
exactly.
That's
It's
how
like
that actually works out.
it basically is always there, and then it's going to flip a moment in the game. That sounds awesome. Okay. Any cool strats?
So strats, there's one way you can disembark. You can embark wholly within 6. So if you've killed something, you're not quite next to your rhino.
Oh, you can pop back in a
get
rhino
back in.
after killing. Yeah, so that's awesome. That's very cool.
That's end of the fight phase. You can embark within 6. There's one where one World Eater's vehicle can move or normal or advanced move horizontally through terrain. So what walls? Which is just, I love that. And then there's one where a rhino, you can, if it's not moved, if it does a normal move, the people can then disembark 6 out rather than 3.
Sure. Okay.
And can be within engagement range. So you can basically get out into combat.
Yeah. This one feels puzzly, but scary, I think.
Gonna need a lot of rhinos. How many points
You-
are rhinos?
Oh, just so cheap all the time,
Or
forever.
Land Raiders.
Or Land Raiders if you want to be a real hero.
It's the big ball play.
Yeah, it's a
So
shame
according
the
to
Scout 9 won't go on the Land Raider, really, or you could jam that straight down the middle of the board immediately.
You telling me you don't want a transport that has 9 strength 6 attacks with sustained lethal hits that hit
Oh.
3+,
Let's kill them with the Land Raider, and also 8 las cannon shots.
and then 6-inch consolidates?
I reckon it's good. It's good.
Here's the play, right? You get berserkers out of the transport. They charge something. The Land Raider charges something else. Tank tops, and then with its 9 attacks, lethal hits, and sustain, kills a thing. You've taken the 6. Oh, you won't have taken the 6-inch consolidate because you've taken lethal hits and sustain. But instead of taking that, you take the 6-inch consolidate. You then consolidate forward into whatever the berserkers have charged. Berserkers kill the thing, spend the strat, get back in the transport, do it again next turn.
All that movement.
Yeah,
That sounds like
Warhammer.
Paul James.
Coasting through.
Okay,
Yeah,
absolutely
Ghost
beautiful.
Ride the Web.
Really,
Absolutely beautiful. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. So that one sounds a lot of fun. I think that's definitely going to be popular.
And that's not it. That's not even
Is
it,
there
Tom.
more to come?
You can give
Jesus.
the rhinos or the rhino models, they can have assault ramps for a CP.
Oh, so like
make
Sky
a normal
Splinter,
move
move,
and
get
then get
out.
out.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool. The reality is that quicker than just being World Eaters now. Not that much. Like I guess it because they go so
depends on the
fast.
terrain, doesn't it?
Yeah,
This one depends a lot on terrain.
I guess it can.
So
Yeah,
we
there'll be
can-
circumstances, and it might help you play around Overwatch at times as well. Actually, which has definitely got some uses if you can get them.
It just
get
feels fun.
Yeah, no, that is nice. I think I was just gonna say because runners move 12, right? It's 15. Yeah, I mean it will add up. There will be times where that's the way, and that's the thing to do. Yeah, super good, super good. So how are we feeling, World Eaters mains, about this book? I mean, it sounds like Jack's become one because he's got all sorts of plans for it. So
I have guns, mate. I have guns.
I think it's an exciting opportunity to feel like you're playing a new army. If you own a lot of the World Eater stuff, you've been playing the same army for 2-3 years, I think this is a nice opportunity for you to remember that there are guns, there are other units. I get it. People have collected the same models and they want those models to be good so they don't have to go out and buy more. That's unfortunately not how our dear game works. And just try and lean on the fact that actually for the next year or so, you've got some really interesting detachments, some new models to paint up because you'll be trying different units and that sort of thing. And lean into the fun experimentation phase. Like the clear firepower isn't there. It's but you can see there's lots of cool gimmicks and rules and stuff to do. So enjoy the process because it's really boring when your book comes out and it's like, oh well, this is the best thing and this is the best this, boom, which is what World Eater players have had. Like this is the fun part of 40k where you're trying the different detachments, trying the list building phase, trying to work it out. Like you can see this book will take a while to get solved.
Yeah, I agree.
There is power in various places, and there's not a huge World Eaters base. So I think it's an exciting time.
Yeah,
I
think so.
Since World Eaters came out in 9th edition, people have been complaining about them being like thin on the ground in terms of options for things you can do. Like they've always been like very one-dimensional, but I think this codex offers a lot in terms of stuff that you can do in terms of like you know, like what kind of playstyle you want to go for.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I mean, just listening to all of those, there's completely different approaches in all of them, and a different set of units and lots of. But so the actual range of options available to them. I think it's potentially sad if Angron has caught some strays. I think that is you want him to be in something. And be in somewhere, but as you say, Jackie, it's not that he's not good. It's just that he's not as good.
He's perfect in Cult of Blood.
Yeah. So Cult of Blood, he works really well with it, right?
He's a monster, and obviously, if he dies and then comes back, you can just like put him wherever he needs to be and put a buff out if you need to. So
100%.
Or in the Demonkin, if he dies, bloodletters.
I want to get the meme of that guy who's like aliens and just have bloodletters.
But with Chris's head.
If someone wants to whip that up for us, we would appreciate it very, very much. No, that's exciting. I think we'll see a lot of them about. I think they're an army people like. I think there's a lot of different options available there. And certainly, Khorne Berserkers being more at the heart of things again feels quite good fun. Khan being at the heart of things again feels quite good fun.
As a bonus thing as well.
Yep.
Vessels of Wrath is still there.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
and being able to add an additional Blessing of Khorne, so you can have lethal, sustained, and 6-inch consolidate all at the same time on 3 units is quite juicy.
I think that's something where that was one of my learnings from playing Brood Surge was it's all about tag teams of units. Then you're not going to have, and that's kind of where the 8-bound changes. You'll feel it because that's not a unit that just does everything now. But if you work with it in tandem with something else, whether that's a big smashy thing or Berserkers, with the Pylon and Consolidate, you're going to crack open things and do a lot of work, right? Okay, well, that's the World Eaters. Let us know your thoughts in the chat. We're going to move it to a Death Guardy place, to a smelly place. Death Guard also got a book. They are another army with a very vocal fan base. They are an army that have had serious ups and downs. In 10th, they arrived a little bit dead on arrival. I think that is mainly just because they are, at their heart, a bit of a stat-checky army, and 10th was so lethal that didn't matter on any level. But they've grown into it. They've been a lot better over recent times and have found a place. Lists probably for Death Guard have been a little bit less samey than World Eaters, but still a bit samey. It's either like here's all the tanks, or it's Plague Marines, Rhinos, Death Shroud. But there's at least a couple of pathways, and Mortarian's obviously been very popular lately as well. So I'm going to hand over to Jack for the first response because he was very keen to have his say on the Death Guard book. So Jack, what do we reckon? What's the kind of headlines on the Death Guard?
I see this book as being very similar, kind of glow up to what Eldari got in the sense that almost every data sheet is changed.
Yep.
I think every data sheet is changed. I'm not sure if there's any that aren't.
Pretty much, I believe, yeah.
Almost all of them are improvements or at worst side grades.
Yep.
Like it's a bad unit and it's still not bad, but like a unit you wouldn't take and it's still a unit you wouldn't take. Like, who cares?
Yep.
I mean, I know Death Guard players do, but you know, grand scheme of things. I think, generally everything is better than it was, and I think that a lot of this stuff works. It all gels together quite nicely, and it all works very well. There's a lot of synergization.
Yep.
It just seems like it's been put together with a lot of thought
Yep.
and a lot of care, much like the Eldari book. So I'm glad that Death Guard have got that investment. It does kind of feel like it's written for a different edition. It doesn't feel like it fits in with a lot of the other books. I think there's only a couple of books that in this edition that just don't feel like they fit in with the rest of the books in the edition. But
yeah, I'd Sisters, Eldar, and this come to mind, I guess.
That's the three I was thinking of. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm not mad about it. Like, I would love to see the rest of the books be like this. So you know, this is what we want. Is this going to be a situation where they've made the rules so fantastic compared to everything else? They've got to nerf the points to oblivion, and then you can't take anything.
I think potentially, yeah,
maybe,
yeah,
but
I think potentially
until that happens, it looks quite fun.
100%.
So I guess we'll have a quick rundown of the army rule change. Which is the Nurgle's gift, which is the plagues. You pick one of 3 plagues, and then you get a growing contagion aura across the game. That applies said plague.
That's their patch that came in, essentially now carried forward. You've still got all the same ones there, pretty much, right?
And you are afflicted. If you are hit by the plague, you are afflicted, which is something that will come up a lot. Which is either -1/2 hit rolls, which is instead of -1 weapon skill, ballistic skill, means there's no longer stacks with -1 to hit.
Yeah, that's a positive improvement, I think, not having that.
-1 save, which is, again, it was just one of the best ones before.
Still sensational, yeah.
Probably the best one now. And then the last one is -1 OC, leadership, and movement characteristics.
The movement is the change there. The OC was also good. This gets more powerful in places where you can have it alongside other things for obvious reasons. The offensive ones, I think, people really like. But actually, yeah, there are ways in some of the detachments where you can have this also in addition. Suddenly, -1 movement OC and -1 save is a lot.
I think a lot of the time it's going to be you take -1 save just generally, unless you're playing something like Crew Hunting Pack or
exactly. It's a situational get out, isn't it?
Yeah. Then you probably want the OC leadership movement thing.
Yeah, completely. I think the killer thing with this for those uninitiated is just that there are more ways to project afflictedness out now in this book than there were. This is not as simple as when you're near them, you will have this. This can be handed out at distance through a variety of ways in this book, which means Death Guard are going to be applying the debuffs much more on their own terms than they previously were. And that, I think, combined with these, is a very real power increase for them in a very serious way.
Something worth noting overall is most stuff, I think all the infantry and a big chunk of the vehicles got +1 toughness.
They did.
So you're looking at toughness 6 Plague Marines, toughness 7 Terminators, and a lot of vehicles got toughness 10 or 11.
Extra wounds on Death Shroud as well, going to 4 wounds.
Yep. And then we've also got a bunch of stuff getting lethal hits added on to their profile. So, you know, where rapid fire is kind of like the World Eater army shooting rule, lethal hits is now the Death Guard.
That's exactly right.
Ranging this,
which feels thematic, right?
Yeah, your multi-melters have it, your battle cannons have it, in addition to the stuff that was like plague spewers and whatever. In terms of like unit glow ups, I say I'm not going to sit here and go through each one. But the important ones, people have been talking a lot about Death Shroud, because they can 6-inch deep strike within a unit, within 6. They can come within outside of 6 of a unit that is afflicted, and they can charge when they do it.
Yes, they can.
Brilliant.
It's badass. It is dangerous. It is very dangerous.
Very, very powerful. The Bloat Drone with Blight Launcher, which has been moved out to a
this is wild. Yeah, absolutely wild.
Fantastic unit. Very powerful range weapon, which is 10-2-3, I believe its profile is, but it's D6 +2 blast, which synergizes with the Lord of Virulence, which is giving it full hit rerolls. And most importantly, its special rule is when it hits something on a 4+, everything within 3 inches of that unit is afflicted for the rest of the turn. So
this is one of the ways by which, there's going to be a real snowballing at range to the contagions in a way that wasn't happening before, and that has massive application. It's just the sort of gun on a cheap unit that Death Guard did not have. Right, that's their little cheap piddly anti-infantry blasting, stay back kind of unit, 36 inch range, I think it is. And they are going to be very obnoxious, right? And obviously, it does open up 6 drone lists as well. So GW obviously need to push those drones. Everyone's got enough of the spitter ones now. It's time to buy the heavy blight launcher.
Plus, Plague Marines are slightly better. They apply affliction at range, and I mean
that's the huge thing for them. Yeah,
they still have access to most of the buffs they had before.
Yeah,
and I think the biggest of the remaining like big changes, like the one that sticks in my mind, is that Boxwalker's got infiltrate, which doesn't seem like it's a big deal. But in terms of board control, it's a really big deal.
This is the thing. So your choice is now, it's not Nurglings mid-board, it's a unit that can score, that is relevant, that can get in your face. Poxwalkers themselves, because of their feel no pain, are just a bit annoying for other skirmishers to actually clear.
Yeah.
They take a little bit of effort, and obviously, the Death Guard players can very much be setting up to secure lanes for themselves, to apply early pressure, which they're not able normally to do, and also if you try and engage the Poxwalkers, you're slingshotting for Plague Marines or Terminators or who knows what else, right?
Especially if you're running Flyblown Host and you can infiltrate them up, scout them 5 forward, and then tag everything.
So Flyblown, obviously, Flyblown, like Vessels, there are interesting changes here. I think Flyblown really benefits from being able to take the other contagions as well as, which previously were just for the index. So Flyblown is just -1 to hit in all ways, all the time, because it's got stealth and -1 to hit. It's got all sorts of stacking potential there. So I think there's some very, very, very scary ones. As just any other unit standouts, I mean, I suppose it's worth addressing. There's a couple of funnier ones. Mortarion obviously is really interesting. Yeah. So do you want to go to Mortarion now?
So Mortarion, it basically hits way harder than he did before.
He does. Yeah.
So his strike now has dev wounds and has d6+1 damage. Depends how well you roll, I guess, if that's worse or not. But the sweep is now super sick, which makes sense because he has a scythe. You would expect the sweep to be good. Makes sense to me. It's strength 8, AP2, damage 2 with lethal and sustained, which is quite juicy. And I think it has 14 attacks. Yes, because it's double of 7. Yeah, 14 attacks. That's awesome. And then he doesn't have the ignore mods ability anymore. Instead, he has 3 abilities, of which he can give out 1 per battle round.
Yeah,
so cool.
And so one is a 2+ fight on death. One is a reactive shoot. So if you shoot a unit within 6 of him, they get to shoot you back. And then another is a 5-inch reactive move, which is all awesome. And then, of course, lastly, he just does mortal wounds on a 3+ if they're D3 mortal wounds on a 3+ if they're within 6 of him. So he's just doing mortals in an aura as well. So
completely
damage for days on Mortarion. So he's had a massive glow up. He was already something that people were kind of looking at an auto include. And at his current points, which is 380, which is I think he's just going to see him a ton.
I think you can 100% build around him and have some very fun like Murder Brick and Morty type lists, right?
Yeah. Lord of Virulence is another one that's probably going to see people build around.
He's so good. He's one of my favourite models I've ever painted, Lord of Virulence, so I'm glad he is good, but he's nuts, right?
Pick a thing you can see within 30, your whole army gets reroll 1 to hit against it. If it's blast, it gets 4 rerolls to hit.
Yeah.
Your indirect has blast.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does. So that is potential with Plague Burst, triple Plague Burst, triple Gun Drone. That would be a pretty spicy and aggressive rerolling murder bus, basically. And again, the potential to apply afflicted, so -1 save on these things means that even artillery that can be a bit lackluster is suddenly actually a lot more dangerous. So there's definitely some potential there.
Spawn as well.
Yes.
Probably some of the best spawn you can get.
Yeah.
Again, just spawn just having an absolute whale of a time.
They are. It's spawn time.
They're T7. They're Scout 6, and they have Deadly Demise 1, which is kind of funny. But what is good is for every attack you allocate to them, after you finish making your attacks, on a 4+, you take a mortal wound. Max of 6. Which is a massive pain in the ass.
Certain armies hate that. Yeah.
If you don't quite kill them, you're going to have to do it again.
You're going to get the acid blood and then do it again.
If you're sat there with your unit that has 30 attacks, you're going to take 6 mortal wounds. And then, oh no, you've left 1 on the wounds. I guess you're going to do it again next turn.
Yeah.
You can't choose to not attack.
Yeah.
No, you're going to have to do that.
Yeah. Really funny.
So, I mean, they're just a solid scoring piece. Probably going to see several of them.
Yeah.
Ironically, the worst thing about them is the Poxwalkers are also quite useful. So
yes. Yeah, and that's going to be the balance. I would expect this to land relatively elite, and it's just working out where things go in. Some of the vehicles glow up a little bit as well. You've got the Blight Hauler just gets +1 to hit and wound against monsters and vehicles, which on little roving melter units is nice, very effective. It's cheap and cheerful. I think the Defiler, we're not going to see Defilers, but if we're talking about the Defiler, it's got it's just got a nice big stupid lethal hits cannon. I think it's got quite obnoxious rules. You can put Poxwalkers in Land Raiders. That's very funny as well. So I think this just some of the big vehicles. It'll be interesting to see if full car park Death Guard becomes a thing. It does feel like the infantry also feel really, really good. But I think there's a lot going on across almost every single data sheet, as Jack has alluded to, and it's just going to be a case of what you can fit. And a little bit of scout and infiltrate just means this is going to be on you more quickly than Death Guard armies typically are, which is obviously very, very powerful as well. I was going to field. We had a comment from Sam Dunn saying, looking at Death Guard World, it feels like there's a new arc in terms of stuff they have realised it's okay to print intent. I'm going to hear you out, then I'm going to tell you what this really is, because you see it's the same. We saw that with lots of similar abilities in Grotsmith, examples being moved through walls, pushing stat profiles of power armor, i.e. increased movement or toughness. What has happened is that they have plundered the Elven design space and given it all to power armies. Sam, all right, that's what's happened. They've made them as quick as elves. They've given them some of the jank of elves going through things, etc., etc. Chris is shaking his head.
Bullshit.
All of the things which historically have made elves very powerful, the extra movement, these sorts of things, they are starting to dole out a little bit on some of these Marines armies. I actually think that's great. I think being able to get involved and stuck in is fine. I think it's one of the reasons they're managing to keep elves somewhat under control. So that is what has happened here. Those things were okay to print in the past. They just gave them to stuff that was T3. Now they're giving it to stuff that's a lot tougher. And it's going to be interesting seeing how that all shakes out over the summer. I think it looks like quite a Marine heavy meta for quite a while. So yeah, definitely very powerful. What detachments jumped out at you, Jack? Let's do a little whittle through those.
Well, the first one to me is Shamborot Victorium, which I know isn't like the one people are going crazy about. But I like it because for me, in any game where like the play style, the sort of fantasy of the faction is dragging the opponent down to your level and fighting them in the mud with you. I love that dynamic as a gameplay style. I just didn't like it when Death Guard were doing it because they're a very elite army. Yeah. But this fixes my issue with it in the sense that you get to take a bunch of essentially zombies. So this one's all built around Poxwalkers. So Poxwalkers become battle line, and on turns 2, 3, and 4, you get an additional unit of 10 Poxwalkers in strategic reserves, which is just really solid. So you can take essentially up to 9 units, and you can put characters in those units because both the what is a Death Guard wizard, right? The
Plague Caster.
Yeah, Plague Caster, sorry. Yeah. You can take those, and you can take the ones that make you quicker. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
The Noxious Blightbringer.
Yes, so the ones that give you reroll advances in charge and +2.
Death Guard main here once upon a time. No big
but yeah, you can infiltrate a huge number of these up the board. I mean, the amount of board control you get from this is ridiculous. Like, if you just manage to win that roll off the first turn, you string out a unit of 20 dudes across the board, then you place like 3 more across on all the objectives. Hello, all 3 objectives terraform turn 1. Like,
yeah.
You know,
it's jaily vibes.
Yeah, it's very much going to operate as kind of a jaily thing. You know, in terms of enhancements, you can get them. You can make a unit OC2. Not just Blightbringer can make a unit OC2. I think that's pretty solid.
That's very good on playstyle. Yeah, very good.
You can make a unit coming from strategic reserves at any time, as if it's the 3rd battle round. So you can rapid ingress to your opponent's deployment zone turn 1.
Yeah, that's fun. That's very fun.
You can do 20 dudes, which is just hilarious. You can give +1 damage to a Plague Caster on his Plague Wind, but it does D3 wounds to Poxwalkers every time they shoot. Meh.
Skip.
And then, skip, because you've also got +1 toughness for your unit, because you get T5 Poxwalkers, which is just really good.
Yeah.
So I'll just take the other 3.
Warp Spiders will dislike that.
And then strat-wise, we're looking at every time 1 CP every time a Poxwalker dies. You roll a dice on a 6, you're immortal. A lot of people are disregarding this one. I think it's really good because Eldar exist. Anything with a low wound count and is highly elite is going to really not like this. I think
100%.
Custodians are also going to really not like this. Sure, Space Marines don't care, but that's not every army in the game. So we're not too worried about that. It's situational, which is absolutely fine. We got 1 CP. If you kill a Poxwalker unit, you're afflicted for the rest of the game. Is nice. Probably not needed, but most of the time, but is nice. 1 CP plus 1 move, strength, and attack for a Poxwalker unit, which is very solid. They just have like 3 attacks each and just swamp attacks out there. Really solid. You know, you're probably applying -1 armor on people.
This is the thing, right? It adds up. Yeah.
1 CP, you can deep strike a unit of Poxwalkers, which is just really cool because you
just
get
good to be able to do. Yeah,
you get 3 Poxwalkers in reserve. And then when you charge, you make everything engagement take a battle shock on -1. Maybe that's relevant.
So it's certainly relevant when you're gumming up objectives, right, and just trying to play that primary game. It's once they've broken through that first wave and they're trying to actually get some primary back, and you're just shocking them and nothing more.
And then the last one that's also kind of underrated is the Shambling Wall, which is 1 CP. You pick a Death Guard unit that's been targeted as a target of an attack, and you pick basically anytime you shoot that unit, you can transfer those wounds onto a unit of Poxwalkers.
This is very legit.
That is nearby. A lot of people are disregarding it because it's you kill 1 Poxwalker for every damage done. So like a las cannon would do d6 plus 2 kills on a Poxwalker unit, which is bad. However, it's Death Guard unit, so you can use this on Mortarion, and he just probably won't take any damage that turn. Because your opponent's only got a limited number of anti-tank weapons. You can just 1 CP, you're probably not going to kill Mortarion. Or a tank, you know, or whatever else you put out in the open. So yeah, I think it's really, really solid stratagem. I think this detachment generally gives you really good ball control.
It does.
Really good secondary options because you have all these guys coming in from all over the place that you can deep strike in as well whenever you need to. And these things are ridiculously cheap. It's like 60 points.
That's the thing. You're still going to have a Death Guard army behind all the zombie nonsense. That's the thing.
Like we do meme about it, but like if you did take 6 units of 20, that's not even half your army. So and then you get a bunch of
and that's a vast problem in and of itself for the opponent to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. And then so you can just take you can still take Mortarion triple triple indirect tank.
Plague Burst Crawler.
Triple Plague Burst Crawler, spawn Marines in.
You can
take all these things and still have a functional army around them while they're scoring, and you don't really have to worry about doing the whole primary or secondary thing because you have 10 trillion Poxwalkers that are doing it for you. It's all really solid. So
completely, no, I think it's powerful. It's always nice because the zombie build of Death Guard is that's been around forever. That's always something they keep coming back to. I think our own Stuart in our team was a big advocate of the old. I can't remember what it was called back in the day, but he used to run all the zombies and drown people in Poxwalkers, and it's nice to see that back. Poxwalkers have actually probably been one of the least relevant Death Guard units in recent times. They've really not featured. I think Cultists have gone from the book now, which helps.
Correct.
Helps to give them their design space back. And there's definitely teams built. Between that and Flyblown, there's all sorts of zombie heavy options. One that I like is Champions of Contagion. This is a bit of a Death Guard hero hammer with your characters. It gives you a sort of flexibility. You can switch between your contagions. That is the detachment rule, so you can put a different one on. Again, there's going to be moments in game where suddenly it's -1 OC in movement time. Suddenly it's the debuffs to your hit and wound. There's going to be, I think that's going to reward sort of astute knowing of when to swap it, but actually there's a lot of flexibility with contagions here in general. For the enhancements, you've got a biologist. Putrefy can take final ingredient, which if you kill a character, you can then make an additional plague active for your army for the rest of the game. That's if its unit kills the character. So it's going to be in a brick of plague breeds. This absolutely can and does happen. So getting an additional plague active via an enhancement is really, really good because the debuffs are just so brutal already. You can get an upgrade for a playcaster to hit something and make it also afflicted. You've got a lot of ways to apply affliction. More doesn't hurt. You can get one for a plague surgeon to enable him to bring back D3 models to a unit instead of 1, which is okay. And then you can put one on for a Lord of Pox's enhancement. When you declare your initial plague, you also declare one for this model, and he has it for the rest of the game. So he gets his own in addition. So just putting another contagion out there. So you can definitely, if you're canny with this, have a whole bunch of different debuffs layered all over midboard.
You can have all 3.
Yeah, which is just really brutally unpleasant. I think especially for armies looking to fight Death Guard in combat, that gets incredibly bad incredibly quickly. Stratagems wise, a whole bunch of good ones. So you can get crits on 5s in shooting or fight phase. So this allows you to put that on a whole. It's very good on Plague Marines. You can put it on other units now as well. 2 CP, you can get full hit and wound rerolls if you target a unit below half strength. So quite nice, just finishing things off. Bit expensive, but they have the Demon Prince. I believe the Demon Prince in Death Guard also makes strats cheaper, so he's another one that you might see running about in this as well. Grotesque Fortitude gives you +2 toughness on a Death Guard unit for 1 CP. So that means T8 Plague Marines. It means T9 Death Shroud. So that is Death Shroud as tough as tanks with 4 wounds each. That is extremely sexy.
Not how I would describe Death Guard.
So the unit has to be attached, and that's kind of the vibe of this. Is it wants you running all the characters and playing a bit of Hero Hammer. So you can't just take it on sort of standalone units. T6 Poxwalkers with Typhus. That's just a very nasty strat because it's just going to catch the opponent out in their efforts to kind of counteract you and deal with you. They're already debuffed. They're trying to swing on a unit. Suddenly they need to use completely different weapons on it. Love the idea of Fire Dragons wielding Death Shroud on 5s and hitting on 4s. That's just literally not fucking doing anything at all. Rabid Infusion, this enables you to give a unit that has 2 characters attached, so that is going to be the Plague Marine Brick. Fights first for 1 CP. Why not? Plague Marine Brick fights first when it wants. The Blightspawn, I think, can do this anyway. And actually, that's a unit we didn't talk about. But when I was talking about EC earlier on, the Blightspawn, you can't finish an advance within 9 of him now. That's just wildly powerful. That is just wildly powerful. That is just park him on your natural expansion and watch every combat army currently in the game not be able to deliver its unit because they all advance and charge, and then he's going to fight first when you get there anyway.
So that's a reason to be getting out of a Rhino.
Yes, John, that is literally the secret tech. Is to, although it's actually also worth saying, they've written a World Eaters book where you're not reliant on advanced charge to deliver your stuff. So maybe they've seen that this would be an issue for World Eaters and just given them more speed instead. Yeah. But yes, so that the Foul Blights one fights first, I think, is once per game, but no advancing within 9 just completely shits on armies that are planning to make advance and charge in combat a big part of their game plan for this. Like, it's just so nasty. So another fights first here for the Plague Marine Brick is always nice. They're obviously trying to incentivize you to take different characters in the Plague Marine Bricks. Mobile Vectors, you can join a Death Guard character to a Death Guard unit, but you can't double stack. So every now and again, maybe you've got a lone wandering character wants to join in with a Death Guard unit. Occasionally it might come up. And then Death's Heads, pick a Biologist, Putrefire in the shooting phase, select a unit with an 8. Until the start of your next turn, that unit is under the effect of all contagions. This one's unreal.
Is that the first time we've seen it where they've made a rule where you could have a character join during the game?
In this edition?
Custodies have it as well.
Oh, Custodies have it.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I'm trying to think of a time where I've seen that.
So I think this detachment, just to me, like there's just relentless combination plays you can do with the contagions, right? There's just so much layering up on it. It's not really boosting your output insanely. I mean, there's a couple of strats where, the rerolls, I'm just be honest, crit 5s. No, it just has it all. It's just really good. It makes you really tough. It makes you really killy. It debuffs your opponent very aggressively. And it's going to work on Death Shroud, it's going to work on Plague Marines, and then all the supporting shooting behind. So I think if you're running the sort of Lords of Silence style, I want my Terminators and Plague Marines running around feeling thematic with the characters, I think this one looks really good. Really, really fun. And a little bit different if you don't want to run the index detachment. You got another one that's jumped out at you, Jack?
Yeah, the again, I'm just going to continue my theme of just picking on the ones that people don't like so much.
Yeah, that's fine. Go for it.
Taliban Summoner.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
And
I have all the
Summoner.
models for this.
You gotta be really careful when you say that one. So this is the one that lets you take Nurgle demons up to 1,000 points. The detachment was really simple. It's similar to the ones we've seen in EC and World Eaters. When your demon units and your Death Guard units are within 60 of each other, they get a buff. In this case, it is plus 3 inch Contagion or Plague Death Guard stuff, and the army rule, so they get contagions for the demon stuff, which is just solid. Because Death Guard Nurgle stuff tends to have quite low AP, so they really like that AP buff.
They love it, yeah.
So the enhancements we have here is when you are deep striking demons, they come in within 12 of a Death Guard model. With this enhancement, it can set up 6 inches away. Pretty sure you can charge after doing that as well. But I'd have to double check. But I'm pretty sure you can. Bear with me. Correct. Yes, you can charge. So that's just awesome. I 6 inch in charge now, which is the thing, I guess. That's how you make the 6 inch deep strike ability good.
Yeah, I think we've been talking about this since the edition started. I was like, once they start handing that out to like Nurgle shit, it's going to get real, and that's what they're doing.
Death Guard model plus 2 to your attacks, which is fine.
Yeah.
One for the Great Unclaim one. Your opponent has to take Battle Shocks test when they're below starting strength and at -1, which is sure, that's fine. And then one for Malignant Playcaster. Whenever a demon makes a Battle Shock test, they do so at +1 and heal D3. So they get the demon Shadow of Chaos, basically, which is really good for Nurglings because. It's D3 models back if it's battle line, but Nurglings don't have battle line in this book, so not so good. But otherwise, just heal D3, but it's still solid. In terms of stratagems, we're looking at 1 CP. When Nurglings are destroyed, you can get a replacement unit.
Yep.
They only go up to 6 in this book, but that's still fine. And it's once per game, as per.
Yep.
1 CP, you get a selected Death Guard unit, and whenever you fight something that's also in range of, engagement range of a Plague Legion unit, so a demon unit, you can reroll the hit roll, which is just solid. Full hit rolls is always good. There's a lot of that going around here.
Yeah, there is. On an army with lethal hits on all sorts of units.
Yeah, and crit fires and sustained.
Yeah.
Full wind rolls. It's always good.
1
CP, you can shoot into combat if they're in combat with a demon unit.
It's quite fun.
Every wound you do, on a 5+, the demon unit takes a mortal. This is the best version of this rule. We've already seen the slightly. The version of this that like Guard has, for example, is kill a model for every wound that you do.
Yeah, very different.
This is 5+. They take a mortal for every wound that you do.
Especially if they're gummed up with like Nurglings or something, and you're just shooting them, and it doesn't even matter really.
Yeah, so obviously that's way better. And it's sort of fight. Like you barely take any mortals, right? You 5+, you take a mortal, and you could potentially go take a Field of Pain against that. I mean, that's just awesome. And you can shoot blast weapons into combat doing that. So
yes, you can.
Awesome.
That's a lot of units that are like that. Yeah.
It's like the only shooting to combat strat that's actually worth taking, I think. 1 CP, Great and Clean ones move through walls.
Yeah,
sure. That's just going to be a requirement for every good Nurgle detachment, I guess. Nurgle demon detachment, I guess.
Yeah.
1 CP, 1 demon unit gets a 6 inch contagion range. Maybe useful,
flexible. Yeah. Sometimes you might want it somewhere. Yeah.
I mean, you can't use all your strats, so
no.
And then 1 CP, when an opponent falls back from you, from a demon unit, you can make them take a leadership test, and if they fail, they can't fall back.
Yeah.
So that's awesome because there's lots of ways for you to modify leadership.
Yeah.
So generally, pretty solid. I think that the Nurgle demons bring a lot to the the Death Guard in general.
They do. I think in some ways the shame is that they're going to be just locked into this one detachment now, as I understand it. They were just starting to see a lot of use with Death Guard, because scouting Beast of Nurgle is just very nice in combination with some of these other units. They're a real pain in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, Nurgle Demon, obviously Nurgle Demons. Beasts of Nurgle are really good.
Yeah.
Nurglings are really good. Plague Bearers are really good.
Yep.
Great Demons are really good.
Yep.
Like, they're the good demons, right?
There's a lot of good units. Roticus, still great. Lots
yeah.
of OC and movement debuffing between Roticus and that Contagion if you want it, which is a lot.
Yeah.
What about the flies?
The flies are garbage. I have 9 of them, and they don't.
I actually have no idea what they do.
They throw heads. They throw heads at you, and it's as effective as you would expect that to be. They're all carrying a little head. They can fling the head. The head does not have a good damage profile.
They don't get a head.
They're chunky though. Like, it's still a slab of wounds at the end of the day.
Okay. I just didn't know if they changed it at all. That's all.
Yeah. Aziza says, talking on Death Guard Discord, it's overwhelmingly positive for the book. Yeah, I know. And so we were behind the scenes. We were talking about this. Death Guard players like to whinge. This is a fantastic book. And I was watching Death Guard players trying, as the news of it gradually broke, still trying to convince themselves it was all going to go wrong. And this is just phenomenally good. They should enjoy it. Death Guard don't tend to get to be in that terrifying army position. Zita's saying it seems a bit of a negative reception to how strong it is. I think this is going to be very powerful, and that's not negative in the sort of, I just think this probably will land a little bit over.
Yeah.
Whether that's true, we'll see.
I mean, I haven't specifically said it, but I think there is like blatant power creep in the damage output of this book.
That's the killer thing.
Because they've got basically every damage buff. Because you can have a Plague Marine unit that will have crit 5, sustained, lethal, full hit rerolls, full wound rerolls.
Yeah.
Fights
first.
Yeah, fights first. The only thing they don't have is like they've got anti-infantry all over the bloody place anyway.
Yeah.
But they don't have dev wounds. That's the only thing they don't have.
Yeah.
But they've also got -1 armor on a bunch of stuff because everything's going to be afflicted.
Yeah.
So they've all got pseudo AP increases.
Yeah.
So it just means the damage output is just absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah.
They have all this fight indirect because there's hit rerolls everywhere in this book.
Yeah.
I think almost every detachment has a hit reroll stratagem. I think one doesn't have it. It's the Shamble Rock Victorian one, and all the rest have a hit reroll stratagem. And which is it's just with an army that has crit 5 lethal sustains is so powerful.
Yeah.
The damage increase is just going to be absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's an awful lot in there, and it's just a lot of their existing weaknesses are being shored up in what they've been handed here. So it's whenever that happens, there's risk, right? It might end up super elite and expensive, and it probably will after a balance pass. So I say we're not saying the sky is falling here, and I think it's awesome that Death Guard have a powerful book. I think that's what you want to see. But I just think it feels like an enormous glow up in terms of its power and its potential, and not every faction got handed that.
It's just a lot of things are stacking on top of each other to make the damage output incredible.
Exactly that. And it's just it's going to be mid-board at the start of the game now. It's going to get mid-board with the rest very quickly. It's going to get behind you very easily. There's a whole bunch of ways in which it's just going to threaten you in ways Death Guard don't normally.
The other issue that it has, it's very the way that it's powerful is very non-interactive.
Yeah.
So you can't do anything as an opponent to stop them getting these abilities. You can't play it. You can't just sit outside of the affliction range because they're going to apply it at range. You can't. It's hard to screen them out because they consistently seem to strike a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can't prevent the script 5s. They're just innate. They're just the thing that they have.
Yep.
So it's very hard to. There's not much in room for you to play around it. As much as there is lots of skill expression for the Death Guard player, that in reverse that isn't true for their opponent, which makes it problematic in terms of how it feels to play against.
Yeah, for sure.
But as I say, I wish all the books were like this, rather than some of the books being like this, and then these books getting hefty points nerfs. Because a similar issue, the Eldar issue, quote unquote issue that Eldar has, is that because everything is like so jacked, rules wise, because the rules writers wanted to make them just cool and fun to play, which is fine, nothing wrong with that, obviously. Because they've done that, it means that it makes it very difficult to balance for points because you can't just even if you were to do even if the rules team were to come in, the balance team were to come in and do rules changes, because everything is so good, you can't just change and you can't just rewrite an entire codex. So you kind of are left with, you can touch one or two things and then its points changes. The upside of this, of course, is that this codex is going to be good. I think at worst mid tier. It's going to be a solid codex for the rest of the edition.
I think that's exactly right. This one has every detachment has something jumping out of it. I think in some ways World Eaters will be the same, but I could see, if anything, them on different journeys where World Eaters might get a couple of nudges up in a couple of places, and Death Guard will get a couple of nudges down, and then the diversity, which is very admirable in both books, will show over time. I think that's completely fair, and we will see. As Sam in the chat says, when Nass is wanting to swap off Emperor's Children to this, it says a lot about the power and pressure it can apply. Indeed, Nassim doesn't like a fair game of 40k. That's not what he's about, and Death Guard can only be offering something quite scary if that's the case, because Emperor's Children are obviously very, very good. Let's rattle through the last couple of detachments. And then we'll be able to do some questions and call it a night. So we got Death Lords chosen. This is the Terminator one, all of Morty's bodyguards. You get an opponent in your opponent's command phase. You can roll 2d6 for every afflicted unit, with a -1 to the roll if they're below half strength. On a 6 or less, they take d3 mortals. So just scattering mortals everywhere off a bunch of Terminators. That's going to really add up into certain armies and be quite miserable. Not as overtly powerful as some things, but definitely still very strong and very, very unpleasant. You get some fun enhancements. You can force a battle shock test with the unit in engagement range. It's okay. You get Vile Vigor. You can add one to the move characteristics and make your Terminators faster. As we've not talked about it, but the Lord of Contagion got better. Blight Lord Terminators got better. So basically every Terminator-based unit you could want would be good if it was quicker. So this is a great enhancement. Once per battle at the end of your opponent's turn, you can use the Warp Rot Talisman and you can just go up into reserves. So now you have, and I called this a year ago, uppy downy 6-inch deep striking Death Shroud. You got it. I knew they'd do it. They've absolutely done it. It was the only way they could possibly make Death Shroud even more terrifying than they already were. But even I did not think they'd be able to charge when they were doing that as well. And here we are. First time I read that, I didn't spot that they could charge as well. Unreal. Very, very, very good. So very, very fun enhancement. That is absolutely powerful. Helm of the Fly King, very well named. Unit gets blown up outside of 18. Again, on a big brick of Blight Lords or Death Shroud, if they're picking the edges, working your way around the board. Horrific. For the stratagems, the strats work on Terminators. You can get Blooming Pestilence. You can add 3 to Contagion range. Again, more ways of getting Contagion where you need it. Use it at the start of any phase, so this is going to help you suddenly sneak in Death Shroud somewhere. That's what a lot of these powerful... If we think about the 6-inch in charge Death Shroud, the killer thing with this is that, as Jack has alluded to, the Death Guard player is often going to decide where this pops up, not their opponent. They are not going to be able to shore this up against a lot of these detachments because it's going to be suddenly applied somewhere they weren't expecting. It's not a case of measure where the models are anymore. Suddenly a strat's going to put it somewhere. Suddenly a different detachment ability is going to put it somewhere, etc. So it's very, very hard to stop some Death Shroud getting somewhere unpleasant. You've got Grim Reapers, which is awesome, scythe, appropriate 1 CP, and of course it is to reroll all hits as long as you're targeting not monsters and vehicles. So gets lethals through punches very nastily, just absolutely shits out even more damage. You get a 4 at Fight on Death. This is okay on Terminator bricks in Death Shroud. Definitely going to Death Shroud or Blight Lords taking elves with them feels pretty natural as a conclusion to this. Signal Pox, you can pick an objective marker that a Lord of Virulence can see, and everything on it is afflicted. That's fun. Gives you a lot of potential synergy with Plague Burst Crawlers. Mortarian's Teachings, 1 Terminator unit gets Assault and Heavy. It's okay. Sickening Impact, this is a bunch of mortal wounds from engagement range from a Terminator unit that's on its way into another unit, so just nice pushing damage through. This is really good. This is a really good attachment. I think Blight Lord Terminators are great in this. They're damage 2 now. I think Death Shroud are really good in this. Lord of Contagions have got 2 up, get back up when they die now, so they like this. There's a lot of violence you can do with the Death Guard Terminators using this attachment. If anything, it's going to be held back just because it's so singularly focused on the Terminators, and at the moment, as we've talked about, there's so many other things that are good that you probably want maybe a more permissive detachment. But I could see people having an awesome time running this and doing an awful lot. And so, yeah, that's a very strong detachment as far as I can see. I think it will also look absolutely baller on the table with lots of Death Shroud and Blight Lord Terminators as well. Cool, Jack, what's your next port of call?
I think it's the last one. Is Mortarian's Hammer.
Oh, yeah, there's just that in the index, and then we're done, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, oh, right, the index, sorry.
Yeah.
I think this one's probably going to be the most common one in.
I could see this being huge, especially in teams.
Yeah, I think just because it's the most simple. It is Plague Storm.
Yeah,
it
literally is.
Iron Storm.
Yeah.
So basically, the detachment rule is start of each battle round, you pick a unit that is more than 12 inches away from everything, and they get afflicted. Now, when we had this, sorry to bring the comparison back to Guard again, but they have a similar rule.
No, but that's it. Siege Regiment's the same, right?
Siege Regiment has similar ability, but that's not thought of as being as good because if people get close to you, you can't use a lot of the abilities. But this is fine because if they get close to you, they're afflicted anyway. Yes. So they can stay far away and they'll also be afflicted. Yes. So it's really solid. It's 2 units for what's relevant, and this is really good for like creating windows for like Death Shroud Terminators and stuff.
Yeah.
So really good. Okay, so enhancement wise, we've got one that gives a character's unit ignores cover, which is fine. The main issue is that a lot of the time the characters you want to be taking into detachment are Lords of Virulence, who in his unit has ignore cover anyway. So you don't really mind so much. But there's niche situations where it's solid, and more AP is always fun for Death Guard.
Yeah.
There's one for Plaguecasters, which gives plus 12-inch range on their Plague Wind, doubling up to 24 inches, which is good because it's a movement debuff, which is fine. It's just a lot of the time they'll be in like a Rhino or something, and they won't get the benefit of it.
Yeah.
So again, you might skip this one. Once per battle round, you can use Overwatch for free, which is just a great one. You can just take that and it's solid.
Super good on Death Shroud. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one, which is you will take this in basically every single detachment, every single list. Sorry. Lord of Virulence model gets lone op while within 3 of a vehicle, and he gives those vehicles reroll 1s to wound on the ranged attacks.
Yeah. So you just have a castle, a murder castle, with the Lord of Virulence handing out the buffs and the rerolls with the blast and not being targetable. Yeah.
Instead of paying 400 points for Morty to do it, you pay a couple for this guy to do it.
Yeah.
So that's super good. And he's lone op.
Yeah. Super good.
Stratagem wise, 2 CP. This is an incredible stratagem. So at the end of your movement phase, you select a terrain feature within 24 and visible to a vehicle in your army, and everything within 3 of that terrain feature is afflicted.
Oh no!
What the hell?
Yeah.
There's
so much handing out of affliction in the book.
You just imagine on the UKTZ maps, those big square ruins, like it's just your whole deployment zone is afflicted.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's crazy. 1 CP lets you go through walls through with vehicles. Defilers are really good in this detachment, so you probably want to use that on them.
Yeah.
Then
I was ahead of my time.
1 CP, full hit rerolls against a target they can see in the opponent's deployment zone.
Yep.
I mean, that's fine. You've already got a Lord of Virulence, so it's less useful, but it's a niche and you may come up. 1 CP, give your vehicles weapons assault, which may be good. 1 CP, you force a battle shock on every unit that's on an objective that a vehicle in your army can see. Which is, if you want to do like some long shot rolls on like trying to deny primary and stuff, then that might be cool. If your opponent's a low leadership army, or if it's there's a lot of leadership. There are a couple of leadership 8 armies out there, leadership 7 armies out there. It might be worth it to deny someone some primary or secondaries or something. And then 1 CP at the start of the opponent's charge phase, pick a vehicle in the army, and then everything in the opponent's army that charges it gets -2 to charge.
Yeah,
just great.
Just very good.
Yeah, someone tries to 9-inch deep strike you, just say lol, no, you don't get to do that. I think it's super simple. The strats aren't even like they're not incredible. No. They're just decent.
Yeah.
It's just this is literally just the synergy of like, I'm going to take a bunch of I'm going to take some Lord of Virulences. Yeah. I'm going to take some Plague Burst Crawlers. I'm going to take some Defilers. I'm going to take some Blade Marines and Rhinos, and I'm probably going to take some Predators.
Yeah.
And we're going to shoot you, and we're going to do loads of damage.
I think it will slap on UKTC where it can just get a lot of angles and blast away.
Yeah, it's just because people were playing Playsum already, and this doesn't take away almost anything from that build.
Nope.
And you just get a bunch of benefits.
Yeah,
So
and it's got the 1-2 of it is not just a gun line. You can have some Death Shroud lurking, some Plague Marines. If they don't push out to screen out a 6-inch deep strike, then they're going to get hit by that. And if they do, they're going to get hit by all the tanks. It's very, very good.
Yeah, it's just
very, very good.
Really solid. So as I say, I think it's going to be super common out there on the old tournament circuit because
I think so. Yeah.
Just super simple and super good. So
yep, absolutely. And then we just had the original to go. As I said, Flyblown, I think we've talked about Flyblown before. It is good, and I think it gets better with this, but it's not massively new. So it's just the Virulent Vectorium to go. The old double V. This is the index. It's back again. Like with the World Eaters one, it has changed a little bit. You still get sticky objectives. That is good. It is very nice to have sticky objectives. No, I think that is one thing Death Guard players will have to adapt to, actually, is its absence. Because it is...
Well, if the opponent can't kill you off the objectives,
there is that as well. Yeah, there is that as well.
Different kind of sticky.
So that's very nice. The enhancements, you can get a melee crit 5s for a character. It's quite fun on the Demon Prince. You can get increased strength and attacks of a melee weapon by 1, and that weapon gains devastating wounds. So it's quite nice on some of the units. Getting some dev wounds, again, just another melee enhancement. It's quite pleasant. Arch Contaminator. This is a classic Death Guard enhancement that is back in style, which is if your unit is on an objective marker you control, you reroll all your wounds. That is good. That is very good. Very nice having dev wounds. The Lord of Pox is the new Death Guard model, likes this. So that's really, really fun. And then Revolting Regeneration, give your bearer a 5-up feel no pain, great on a Demon Prince. I think this that was another one that I remember even when I started playing Death Guard, John. I'm pretty sure they had those two back in the day. So those are very much out in force.
I'm getting PTSD here.
Yeah, there's a lot of PTSD going around with this book. Then for the strats, you can auto explode a vehicle or monster. That's great. And the next turn, that target is afflicted. So anything. Yeah, I assume the explosion just dashed out afflictions as well. That's pretty nice. Morty auto-exploding is pretty funny. Disgustingly Resilient is a 2 CP -1 damage, except it now works in either shooting or the fight phase. That is horrifying. Again,
since you're going to be taking a Demon Prince for that 5.
This is the thing, right? The Demon Prince loves the enhancements in here, handing out -1 damage. Both these books actually have, in those detachments, a deceptive amount of cheap -1 damage. I think that will really change how certain armies feel playing into them. Armies depending on damage 2 are really going to suffer because it's just going to be so easy for them to hand it out. Very, very unpleasant. Death Shroud with -1 damage with 4 wounds is that's just an awful lot for any sort of type of damage to get through. Plague Surge is a 2 CP. Targets your warlord, gives all your units +3 to the contagion range. So it's a one-off 2 CP boost contagion. Again, just more flexible contagion in your command phase. Every detachment packs a sort of contagion sucker punch in it. That's really, really good. Elite Spore Eruption. Select a model that's lost wound. Pick an enemy within 3. Roll a dice for each missing wound it has. On a 5-up, you do a mortal and you heal a wound. So it's quite fun on Mortarion. Quite fun on a Demon Prince. Overwhelming Generosity, using the shooting phase, select an enemy unit visible to you until the end of the phase. Anytime it's targeted with range attacks, you can re-roll the dice for the number of shots. So that already stacks really well with the combos Jack's been alluding to. You've got so many blast guns in the sort of main vehicles. They're now going to be re-rolling shots, re-rolling hits, all sorts of things going on. Lots of combination plays there for the shooty Death Guard vehicles. Creeping Blight, shooting phase, give a Death Guard unit full rerolls to hit and wound against an afflicted target. That is crazy. That is just so good.
Yeah, I mean, these are absolutely incredible stratagems.
Just like bonkers powerful, right?
Yep. I mean, there's so much like jank you can do, like Plague Surge, that increase your contagion range. Like, so if you're playing against this, you can measure out the contagion range and be like, okay, it's going to be 6 inches next turn. He can move 5. If I say X number of inches away, he can't get within range to afflict this unit behind a wall that he can't shoot.
Yeah.
And therefore, he can't 6-inch deep strike. Oh, exactly. Wait, no, he's going to get +3 inches, and he's going to do that.
That's exactly it. I just think it's going to be really hard even for good players to play around the different affliction boosting options across the different detachments, because they come in different forms, both across units and detachments. And there's a whole bunch of them.
And the overwhelming generosity does make my Brain jealous because, I spend one CP to get reroll hits on flamers. They spend one CP to get reroll hits, a number of shots for their entire army against it. So yeah, awesome.
yeah, it's strong.
Viability
It's
strong.
very, very strong. I think it's yeah. So, I mean, to sum it up, I think this book looks really, really powerful. I think its power is much more immediate than the World Eaters one, in as much as it packs a whole suite of debuffs. I feel like it packs very good damage. It is still not quick, but it has had all its mission play dimensions shored up very aggressively with Scout, Infiltrate, good deep side delivery options, and then the units just got better. The units are better. So it may end up in a Custodes place where they point it effectively into a place where it feels super elite. But it's definitely going to make some waves, I think, in the interim, and be a very, very powerful book.
It's a weird one, right? Because they're not going to increase the points on stuff like Predators and Defilers because they keep them universal between all of the books. Mm-hmm. So it may just end up with 10 Plague Marines costing 250 points.
Yeah, it could well be the infantry ends up really spicy, right? Yeah,
sure. And you got 350 points, 400 odd points for 6 Terminators. So I'm concerned in how they are going to do the points for this because they've got to go up, and
yeah,
100%.
I think in some ways it's very reminiscent of the Sisters book, where there was sort of quite panics and immediate points buffed to jacks up on things, and I think it'd be interesting to see if similar is applied to here. It does put an end to our EC problem, so that's good news. That was short lived. It didn't even. Emperor Children Emperor Children have actually been quite thoroughly neutered because this book absolutely kicks them in. And controls where they can go and how they can play the game in ways that they simply have no answer to.
So the balancing solution is now to open a box of
that was it. And what I was going to say is this is the single most 9th edition release we have seen for me, because it jacks a bunch of things up. It immediately counters something else that's just come into the game, very aggressively and almost quite targetedly. And that was very much how 9th books all functioned, or a lot of middle 9th function. World Eaters doesn't quite feel like that. I think World Eaters feels like it's doing its own thing, and it will be good at its own thing, but I can't see what it's aimed at. This feels very aimed at EC. Almost direct counterweight to EC.
I mean, it's really good against all combat armies, right? But Death Guard will like that.
That is their role. That is what they're supposed to be, right? And Elves will hate it, Drakari will hate it. The problem is that I think this goes toe-to-toe with shooting armies as well, right? That's the thing.
Yeah.
And that's not historically what Death Guard do. So that's going to be the interesting thing to see, is if this becomes one of the sort of leading kind of shooting codexes as well as the anti-melee one, then that is doing an awful lot of things at once, isn't it? And it definitely has the potential to be that, I think. So it's going to be interesting to see. Engagement on Front says 9th edition codex is custodied mad. You're right, yeah. We haven't seen a ton of that, or not. It's not been the step by step as much this edition, but this does feel like one of those things for sure. Scary, you put your hand up.
I was just waving at him. That's Logan.
Oh, is it? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very, very good. And yes, he is right that the disparity between this and the World Eater book is insane. I think World Eaters will be more powerful, a bit like EC. The power wasn't clear in EC, so people put it on the board and saw what it did. I think World Eaters will feel like that. But the Death Guard, you don't need to play one game with this to see how this is going to be tough to play against, right? Very tough to play against.
It's similar to stuff like the Tyrannid. I wrote a list here, actually. Hang on, sorry. The Tyrannid book, the Orc book, the Necron book. It's the World Eater book increases the internal balance, but not the external balance. So it feels better to play in terms of what you're in terms of list building and stuff and options you have. But it's not it doesn't feel good in the sense of you're going to run up against Death Guard and you may get smashed up.
100%.
But then everyone's going to have that problem. Also, Engagement of Fronts, I disagree. Exalted are sick. They kill everything.
There we go. John, were you coming in there, or?
It's just to me, the World Eaters seem less exciting from the get-go out of the two, because everything.
I find it more exciting just because I can see how great you're going to need grey matter to get things in places. That's the thing with this Death Guard one. My brain after the third detachment of put affliction where you need it. like my brain turns
Hmm.
off of it because it's just like, well, that's the whole thing with them, right?
It feels-
and it just you just do it. You just put it where you want it. Like
It just feels a little bit more resources poor when you look at the 2-book points lists. At the moment, you look at things like Plague Marines, and they look very, very points efficient in the book.
Yeah.
And that worries me that that's what we'll see to start with.
Yeah, for sure. It's good. I think things like the Death Shroud, I love the idea of them just feeling like the little. They've always, to me, felt like they should be like little mini characters in their own right. They really feel like this and this, and they will go on little side quests. But yeah, it's going to be strong. It's going to be interesting to see how it lands. And I guess I don't know if we've even got the points yet. I'll be interested to see how they approach pointing the 2 books. It feels like Death Guard needs to be expensive, and some aspects of World Eaters needs to be cheap to kind of get the
But not too
engagement
much, right?
flow.
In both extremes.
100%. What is certainly, I think, for me, both these books will make a very real impact on the actual meta of the game. I think we'll see them out and about, and I think they will be armies you do need to be aware of and prep for. Cool. Right, we're about to hit 2 hours, guys. This has been a long show. We got stuck into 2 books. We've had a good time. We've done a lot. So thanks for being patient with us all the way through. Please do hit like and subscribe. Leave us a comment if you haven't already. We will see you again next time. I'm going to let Chris field just one question that we had in the chat for the Discord.
You're still here, podcast listeners.
I am.
He is still here. He's just been looking at the Death Guard rules in horror. We have a question for you, Chris, from Pixie Rocket that says, when are you guys going to have an event up north again?
Oh, no.
Oh, these events down south.
So annoying, isn't it, when they're down south? So
5 scheduled so far this year in the south. So
we
we're actually
are,
being greedy.
yeah. Our next grand tournament north version will be basically the same time next year, so it'll be March. We've booked pretty much the same weekend in with Prestige Wargaming. So yeah, we've got our South GT August the 23rd, 24th. We've got something which we're working on at the moment.
Yeah, we've got a very special one of the works.
It's a general buy tickets type thing, but it's going to be very exciting.
Will be an occasion. Right.
It will be an absolute occasion as and when we can get one final thing sorted.
Yeah.
And then the next North GT will be in March again.
Beautiful. And to end on the final comment from Engagement Front, say, how do you feel about Death Shroud being cheaper than Exalted? I feel things very strongly.
Guilt, you should.
And that is, I'm not. I've always been a Death Guard main, mate. I'm fine.
I mean, they are obviously the utility that the Death Shroud brings is way better, and they probably should be a unit that is more expensive than Exalted 8-bound. But I won't stand for this Exalted 8-bound slander because they were like 6/2/2 before, right? With 5 attacks, that hit on 2s.
I can't remember exactly.
Right?
They felt like they killed everything of mine they ever touched. That's
now, so they're 1 less attack and hit on 1 worse, but they're 8/3/2. And they have the anti-vehicle 3+ and anti-monster 3+, which I think is way better, especially when you take into consideration they're going to have sustained and or lethals potentially tacked on there as well. I think that's really good. And the ability to force desperate escape tests on vehicles and monsters is hilarious. And, once in a blue moon, that will be really useful. So I won't stand for the slander of this unit. So, because I think if you do the maths on it, it kills. As I said it earlier on, like them with the slaughterbound character kills almost anything relevant.
Yeah, I really like that package. 100%. Right, well, before he can defend himself, we're going to end the show, so he can't reply. Bye. We love you all. See you next time. Death Guard are really good. Bye.